So then, over to the second race of the Manufacturers' Cup, Autopolis in the wet. And Mazda took first blood a few moments ago in the first race of the weekend. Can they convert that into a second win and extend the lead in the points championship? Well, it's Paul Ura who will drive for them in this second race. Takuma Miyazono will be with Subaru on the front row of the grid. Then you've got Jose Serrano for Porsche in P3. Morimoto for Toyota lines up in fourth position ahead of Lexus and Kanase Kawakami in P5. Of course, former double champions. Then Nissan, also former Manufacturers' Cup champions, lining up P6. Arthur Mosso is seventh on the grid, and BMW with Thomas Laboutelet lining up in P8. Mercedes-AMG and Lucas Pinelli lining up in ninth position, and P10 is Honda with Sugimura. 11th place Lamborghini and Alifa in that final row of the grid, with João Jesus for Ferrari. A lot of work for both Lamborghini and Ferrari to do, and not a lot of time to do it in here, Jimmy, because it's only a 5-lapper.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be tricky for the guys here, because they're going to have to try and experiment with grip levels with something they've not had the chance to do so yet. I mean, Autopolis, tricky circuit, the best at times. Add into the fact now that you're in wet conditions, a spray from the car in front of you lower down the field. I mean, Paul Ura's in pole position in two ways, really. One, he's literally there, and two, he hasn't got that spray to deal with, so he gets a much easier job going down to T1 for the first time. But interested to see which cars and which teams really make the most of these conditions.
Well, just a reminder, points, of course, awarded down to 10th place in this race. 12 points on offer for the victor, 10 points for second, 8 points down to third, and then, of course, as we know, points all the way down to P10, and double points for the grand final. In terms of double points, a little bit more than that, actually, because it's 24 points in total for the victory, but more on that a little bit later. Let's get ready, though, to go for race 2 of the Manufacturers' Cup here in Fukuoka. It's time to go racing at the Autopolis Raceway, with Mazda across the line first, from Subaru, from Porsche, as we come in towards that first corner in the heavy, wet conditions. So wet tyres available for the drivers. No need to worry about any pit stops in this race. It's not really going to be set to dry out, but who's going to be able to master these conditions in the wet? So Subaru there in second position, with Porsche, who are in P3. And are we going to see Porsche getting an early advantage here on Subaru? Well, it certainly looks like it. They go for the outside line here, and they're going to go sweeping around the outside. Are they going to make that move stick? Absolutely brilliant there for Porsche and for Sato, getting the better of Subaru, and for Takuma Miyazono, who drops himself down into third place, as we see Nissan versus Toyota for fourth place in the background as well.
Yeah, Nissan, they're chucking the car in and knocking Toyota out of the way, so I'm not sure the stewards are going to enjoy that one, but a robust move there from the fourth place team. Currently on board with Takuma Miyazono, looking at the back of the Porsche, went round the outside of him there. It just goes to show that different lines work in these wet conditions. Driving on the rubbered up dry line is a good way to slide wide, so you've got to try and avoid that, as Team Toyota making their way back by Nissan. McLaren in the background too, trying to wind their way through, as Nissan scrambles for traction and corner exit here. Treacherous conditions for these drivers, and that spray as well really makes things difficult.
Yeah, it certainly does, coming down to the bottom of the circuit. Look at the advantage that Mazda have already built up, about half a second or so. Doesn't sound like a particularly huge amount, but it is quite significant, especially at this early stage of the race. Looking here at Morimoto then in the Toyota. Nissan very close behind Hiroshi Okamoto, the two Japanese drivers in the two Japanese manufactured cars, in fourth and fifth place there respectively. Can they make an impact here on this race? Through the left-hander and then through this long, lazy right-hander, which completes the lap. And you can see the difference in lines there. Nissan trying to go for the inside line. Is it going to work on Toyota? Well, they've got track position. It's just going to sort of converge as they come through the left-hander. They're going to be shuffled to the curb on the outside, and Toyota might be able to pick the advantage back between them. They bang against one another as we come down the start-finish straight, but Toyota then into fourth, and Nissan still sitting there in P5.
Yeah, all this squabbling just lets the top three get away though. Nissan, big launch, they turn Toyota off into the corner pocket, goes Team Toyota into the gravel trap and down to last place. What a shame, because these guys were looking good in the standings. That's going to be huge for them there. You can see the teammates not happy with that whatsoever. Can't really blame them there. For sure, I'm happy for Team Nissan.
No doubt about it. Stewards are going to be looking into that one, but Morimoto will be bitterly disappointed with that, as will the whole Team Toyota outfit. And, well, Nissan, as you say, I imagine that Okamoto is going to be facing some kind of sanction for that incident. Meanwhile, Mazda it is that lead the way. Let's have another look at it. So you can see here, Toyota in fourth place, Nissan going for that lunge on the inside. The gap is there, but unfortunately, it sort of two doesn't go into one, and, well, you see what happens. Toyota straight to the scene of the accident.
Yeah, the gap was there until it wasn't. And I think that was Kraz-e driving the car there. So he ain't going to be happy with that one. But back at the front of the field, Paul Ura doing a good job fending off the attacks of the team Porsche there. Who's at the wheel of that one, Tom? Is Serrano's at the wheel of that right now? We know how fast Serrano is. Sorry, it's
Serrano is at the wheel of that one, yeah. Beg your pardon.
Well, there he is. No, it definitely is Serrano. But yeah, we know how quick he is. Very strong team for Team Porsche. You know, Angel coming in and saying we've got a chance here. They really do. If they keep up these performances, getting by Team Mazda here, though, will help that happen, because right now they're looking very, very quick.
Well, at the moment, they're even on points, let's not forget. Both on 22 points. Look at the sliding there for Serrano. He's just trying to find the limits of grip, isn't he? Just exploring a little bit beyond that. But they're tied on points. So whoever finishes ahead in this race is going to gain a bit more of an advantage than the other. So there's plenty of opportunity and a good incentive there as well. More points on offer here in these World Finals. You can hear the rain battering against the windscreen as they come down the start-finish straight. So lap 3 out of 5 we are on. We come across the timing line then here, and sort of the three outliers at the moment, Mazda, Porsche and Subaru, they've got a 2-second advantage now over Nissan, who sit there in 4th position.
So we're just, yeah, I mean, that's down in part to the contact earlier on, but Porsche are looking very aggressive, looking to make a move maybe on Team Mazda. They like the outside move here, does Serrano. Winning it on Paul Ura, he does, round the outside goes Jose Serrano for Team Porsche, passing his teammate, his Spanish teammate there, Paul Ura in the Mazda. Man, these guys really are going at it, aren't they? And in the back there, Takuma Miyazono trying to follow his way through. These top 3 cars give us a hell of a show.
This circuit really does suit the Subaru there in 3rd place as well. So let's keep an eye out and see what Miyazono is going to be able to do as they make their way through. And now the circuit begins to open up a little bit in this sort of mid-section of it. We flick through this right-hander, and this is a bit of an Achilles heel for Subaru. It's a very good car in techniques of the track. On the longer straight, not so good because it doesn't have the same straight line speed. This is Lexus versus Lamborghini down to the first corner. Mercedes and BMW, and Lamborghini just come careering into the side of them. So Lamborghini really suffering some misfortune in this race, and Gotto, the aggressor in that one, unfortunately, I think there's going to be more penalties coming their way.
There's a lot of this going on. It's really hard to pick your braking zone down there, and unfortunately, if you're on the outside ahead of them, you kind of act as the brake, and of course that'll be looked into by our stewards as well. On board now with Miyazono in the Subaru, really working the wheel of this Subaru BRZ. Almost run into the back of the Mazda. Lamborghini, unsurprisingly, they're slapping the 2-second penalty. So yeah, that's what you get for shunting a car off. Lamborghini, that'll hurt them. Well, to be honest, they're 7th now. The 2 seconds have put them down to about where AMG is. Now here's when we see the weakness of this Subaru. Runs out of puff on the straights, but very light, very agile. In that draft, actually, wasn't falling back too much.
No, okay, this looks through at the moment. Let's see whether Miyazono can use that to his advantage coming down towards the first corner. Mercedes and BMW under investigation there as well. Still nothing on Nissan and the contact that we saw in towards that first corner as to whether they're going to be picking up a penalty for their part in the incident. BMW look like they're out of this one though, as Laboutelet has not come across the line in a fair amount of time. We come through this left-hander though. We're now on the penultimate lap of racing here. This is a favourite overtaking spot that we've seen over the course of this one, and now are we going to start to see Miyazono coming through. There is BMW, there is Laboutelet, who clearly looks to be suffering from what appears to be some kind of a technical problem, being stranded on the side of the circuit. But I have to say, Jimmy, the rain intensity looks to have decreased somewhat in the sort of latter stages of this race. I don't think the circuit's going to dry up significantly, but it's definitely a bit less heavier in terms of the rainfall than it was a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, I should say, Tom, I think it's not really going to dry so much towards the end of the race. There is really a straight fight between these guys. You can see going into this hairpin there, the lock that Paul Ura in that Mazda just crossing the wheel over, trying to get some grip out of those front tyres, just scrubbing across. And it's been a great race from Jose Serrano with that Porsche, really showing what that car can do in these conditions and flirting with danger, touching those curves in the wet, always a little bit scary. But not for these guys, proper pros here, as we watch Miyazono again. This is where this car is strong, the Subaru. Really quick for these last couple of corners, but what can he do about it?
Yeah, that is the question. Lamborghini and Ferrari exchanging positions there. Mercedes picking up a penalty for their parts in a collision, presumably with BMW. On board we ride, though, with Takuma Miyazono. We come through the left-hander in towards the final two corners of this circuit to begin the last lap of racing. And Porsche and Serrano now just beginning to build a little bit of a cushion, actually, over Mazda and Subaru. And I wonder if that might just be enough for them to not come under any real threat on this final lap, which we now begin with Porsche leading from Mazda, from Subaru. That's your top three.
Yeah, a little wiggle there from Miyazono, so that's really going to hurt him going on to this lap. So, last lap of the second race here for Team Porsche, leading by 6/10 from Team Mazda. Subaru in third place. We're on board now at Miyazono. Can he invent something here? Anything that he can do? He's a bit far back, I think, to have any sort of lunge here, and he's got a big strength to contend with, and we know this car doesn't really do too well with, but he's really fast, Miyazono. He can really make this thing work if he can just find the line. But Paul Ura also trying to get back onto the rear spoiler of the Porsche, but we have to say that Serrano's just looks in a league of his own here.
Yeah, first sector, Euro was actually a little bit quicker by a few tenths of a second over Serrano. So if he can continue building that advantage into the final sector of this one and continue that same sort of trajectory, there's a good opportunity for a possible lunge in the final few stages of this one. So Mazda and Subaru were tied on points at the start of this race. If the checker flag finishes as it is now, it'll be Mazda with a 2-point advantage going into the penultimate race of the season in the Manufacturers' Cup, with Porsche there in third position, but very close indeed, with just 3 points separating those three teams.
Yeah, this will bring Porsche right back into it. And you know, Alan Gallagher was saying at the start of this, like, I fancy this. I reckon we can do this, Team Porsche. We can be champions if we can just get a good couple of races. This will be ideal for them. Only a few more corners separate Porsche and Jose Serrano from a win here in race 2.
You're again a tenth of a second faster, gap down to just under half a second now, so it just takes that one mistake from Jose Serrano at the sharp end of this one. One slip of the tyres, one slide into the corners under braking, and that could present the opportunity that Paul Ura and Mazda are looking for a dive. We come through into that final turn though, and unless we see a mistake from Jose Serrano, it is going to be Porsche that will come through to take the checkered flag. Out of the final corner we go, and across the line, Porsche win race 2 from Mazda and from Subaru. Serrano takes victory from his compatriot Paul Ura. Miyazono on the podium there in third position, which means that we've now got 3 manufacturers separated by just 3 points at the sharp end of this one, with 2 races to go at the checkered flag. Ferrari versus Lamborghini to the line there as well, was very close for 7th place. João Jesus just getting the better of Lamborghini's Alfa Lea. But what a race from Paul Ura and from Jose Serrano. Ultimately, a very calm and controlled race from Serrano. Once he got his way through around the outside for the race lead, he just never looked like he was bothered again.
But how close was that? Less than 2 tenths at the end there. So definitely chased home was Jose Serrano by his compatriot Paul Ura. But you're seeing now why we've had such Spanish domination this year. These guys just incredibly fast. And for Team Porsche, that's huge. That really puts them properly in contention now. We've got 3 teams starting to pull away from the rest. Mazda, Subaru and Porsche, with only 2 more races left this year.
Yep, so 32 points now for Mazda, 30 points for Subaru and 29 points for Porsche. They're your sort of outliers, really. Of course, another opportunity for 12 points on offer in this third race. And then we go up to double points for that for the grand final as well. So let's see how that one is going to work out. Well, time for reflection after that second race. Wet conditions at the Autopolis Raceway. Manufacturers' Cup then here for the Gran Turismo World Finals, and here is how the grid lines up. Top 3 places occupied by the top 3 teams in the standings. Porsche with the most to gain in this one. They line up in pole position, an opportunity for them to score 12 points. Angel Indestroza heading their charge. Mazda in second place. Riots Cockburn is behind the wheel for that team with Subaru, and Kilian Drumont in third place. Fourth position, Mikołaj Sejak in the Nissan. Could he be the disruptor here today, with McLaren's Jay Murphy in fifth position? Lexus and Giorgio Mangano lining up P6 on the grid, and then Ferrari's Jun Hashima is in 7th place. Alongside them is Lamborghini, and for Simon Rosenberger, then you've got Honda's Valerio Gallo, 10th place, Mercedes-AMG, and Noah Lanuza, the Frenchman. He was unlucky in LA, if you remember, ended up on the deck at one point. Adriano Kraz-e lines up P11, and BMW Seiya Suzuki is in 12th position on the grid. So medium tyres then, 7 laps here at this Sardinia circuit. Jimmy, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I foresee some sort of move down at T1. It's a long drive down to there. We do have a rolling start, which does tend to spread the field out a little bit, but I think it's long enough that you can slipstream action is going to start coming into play, and someone like Kokoba maybe might have a fancier move from T1. I mean, like, to be honest, between the top 3, they kind of need to keep it clean. That's what they're thinking now, because any mistake here puts them on the back foot for that grand final. Yeah,
no doubt about it. You've got to really minimise the mistakes, especially at this critical juncture. As you get later on, of course, into the evening's worth of races, there's fewer opportunities to right any of the wrong. So one mistake here could be absolutely critical. You guarantee these teams, these drivers, they're going to be leaving nothing on the table here tonight as the crowd awaits. Sold-out crowd here in Fukuoka this weekend. And they'll be keen to see what is going to happen and who, of course, is going to claim the crown of the Manufacturers' Cup. Let's get ready to go racing. Race 3, then, is underway here at the Manufacturers' Cup at the Sardinia Road Circuit. Porsche leading Mazda, leading Subaru as they come down in towards the first corner. Don't think we'll see any dive bombs down in towards turn 1, but we will see a pull out of the slipstream there for Mazda as well as Subaru coming under pressure as well. No moves being made in towards that first turn as expected, but around the sort of second part of this opening lap, we should start to see drivers who are getting their elbows out as they start getting some heat into the tyres and the brakes, crucially.
Yeah, so right now, Porsche lead from Mazda, lead from Subaru, lead from Nissan behind. So Jack behind the wheel of that Nissan. We said he's one to watch, so we'll see what he can do during this race. And again, this track's a lot of heavy acceleration zones. That Subaru's going to suffer a little bit here, I think, as they defend there from Mazda defend from Team Subaru. Right now, not much change as everyone's keeping it nice and clean on that one there. A stark contrast to our first race at Daytona. On board now with that GTR and Sejak.
Yeah, Sejak knows a thing or two about how to play these races calm and cool. You can see Mazda there just putting some pressure on Porsche at the sharp end of this one, coming down towards the left-hander. In the mirror there, you can see also Lexus as well. Behind the wheel of that is Giorgio Mangino at the moment. Of course, Lexus former champions as well in the Manufacturers' Cup. Let's see whether they can spring a few surprises with McLaren very close in tow. Through the sweeping left and right-hander before we come in towards the next big braking zone on this first lap into this left-hander. Lamborghini and Mercedes under investigation for a collision then on this opening lap. Let's see whether they've been deemed to be the aggressor or the innocent party.
Yeah, Gallo there making a move on the Ferrari drive up to P7. Goes Valerio Gallo, past champion, Nations Cup champion. Honda not looking so strong though this time out, but I'm sure looking to try and make as best as he can of the situation. Meanwhile, we're with Nissan and Sejak going down towards T1. Big overspeed on the Subaru as it goes defensive. Fremont there keeping the car just on the line. Very nice defensive driving there, but you can get the impression that Sejak they can smell blood in the water.
Yeah, certainly can. Mercedes with a 1 second penalty then for their pass in the collision with Lamborghini on that opening lap. So let's work out and pick the bones out of that one as we continue on in this race. We come through the left and the right hand, and this is Mikołaj Sejak, who we ride on board with the Polish driver, who, despite being Polish in terms of nationality, actually has a very sort of thick northern accent, which catches you off guard a little bit. And I was down chatting to him in the World Series events over the course of this year. He's a young lad, bright head on his shoulders and mature head on his shoulders, especially when it comes to racecraft as well. So let's see whether we can get that Nissan up into the podium positions and be the disruptor in this race. We come through in towards the left-hander. I have to say, they're keeping it remarkably calm and tidy. Jimmy, as we get into this point now of the evening where we're race 3, we're the last chance before we go in towards the double points, are we going to see the teams at the front maybe minimising the risks a bit more?
Yeah, you think so, but that of course opens up to people behind them. I mean, a great example right now is Valerio Gallo moving through the field up to P6 now. He's already on the back of the McLaren in front, so this guy is not hanging around. And as you see now, Sejak is all over the back of a Subaru. Subaru really fast. There's a Mazda mistake there from Mazda and Kokoban. And now that has just given the cars behind an easy run down towards T1 and Porsche with Stroza at the wheel. A bit of breathing room. So here we go. Then down towards T1. We're on board with Sejak. Looking at the back of that BRZ there. Struggling in a straight line. It's now the time we'll see the Polish driver strike. Looks to the outside line. Not quite close enough to anything there. But, well, these guys really getting bunched up now. You were saying they're taking it easy, so I'm not sure they are.
A defensive line there for Inestrosa. I think he got a poor run off the final corner, which compromised him down into turn 1. The problem is, though, what he did was it bottlenecked up. It sort of concertinaed up through that first turn, and you can see how close they are now, running nose to tail. I mean, it was close going into there, but it's certainly closer now as we come in through this first sector.
Inestrosa actually a great run. That Mazda's just an absolute bullet in a straight line. Meanwhile, a bit further down the field. So here is a replay.
Oh, this is what happened with Mercedes and Lamborghini on the opening lap.
That's
so
a great move.
Yeah, if you forget whether the brake pedal is brilliant.
Which he did, unfortunately. So yeah, I can understand the penalty there. But yeah, so yeah, Inestrosa's got a weird dynamic here where he's really quick in mid-corner with his Porsche, but it seems to, up against that Mazda, which again, a bit of a bullet. It's not, sorry, just in the background there, Subaru having to defend, and then in its place goes up the inside of the Mazda. The Mazda caught napping, so Subaru and Drumont there just absolutely picking the pocket of Koki, but down 2 places. Sedgwick also up a place, up into P3, and now they're side by side as Gallo tries to get involved as well.
Yeah, this is now all starting to kick off, isn't it? We're sort of getting towards the mid stages of this race, and all the while they start squabbling, that is music to the ears of Angel Inestrosa. He's leading the race. Half a second is the advantage. If they continue battling like this, it will give them a chance to break away.
This is ideal, really, because the Subaru's not fast down the straights. It's now going to be the cork in the bottle for the cars behind. So that, as you say, sort of gives Inestrosa a little bit of breathing room on board for the Mazda now. Look at the speed of this thing down the straight in the drive for this hand. They're going to both going to try and get by the Subaru. Are they going to go 3 wide? Not quite. They're thinking about it. This and there, Sedgwick just about being held off by the Subaru. Yeah, oh, the cutback. Sedgwick up into P2. Lovely stuff. And will the Mazda follow through too?
Trying to do on the inside then, and keep an eye out for Honda with Valerio Gallo, who's behind the wheel as well. We come through to the left-hander, Honda versus Subaru. Oh, Sedgwick's off into the gravel. Was there a bit of contact there as they came through in towards the left-hander? The upshot is the Polish driver goes tumbling down the order. He was in 2nd place. He's now down to 7th place. And look at what it's done for Porsche and for Angel Inestrosa. He's now got a 1.6-second advantage as they all start squabbling amongst one another, and a 1-second penalty there for Toyota as well.
Valerio Gallo in that Honda started this race in 9th position. He's up to P2. A great drive there from the 2020 Nations Cup champion. Amazing run by, no, sorry, 2021. Nearly got it right. That was near.
Long time ago. Oh, hang on a minute. Look at Subaru on the inside. They lunged through on 2 cars, getting the better of Mazda, and then also getting the better of Honda as they now run side by side with one another through this left-hander. That was absolutely sensational for Team Subaru. A big lunge, and it's paid off beautifully. Now Lexus are ready to try and pick the pocket of another car. They get through on Mazda for 4th.
What do you say at the start of this race, Tom? They're going to take it easy. I don't think so. In the background, Toyota almost 3 wide there with McLaren and Mazda. Mazda plummeting down the order. This is horrible for their championship at the moment. So Porsche and Angel Inestrosa is just laughing all the way to the back. 2.4 seconds now is the gap as Subaru and Honda battle out still. There through goes Valerio Gallo. Not much really Drumont can do about that, can he? But here's the question. Are they going to keep squabbling, or does Gallo have the pace to catch that Porsche in front?
Well, the problem here for Drumont is obviously he was the cork in the bottle. So now that Valerio Gallo's gone through, you would imagine that unless he's able to keep the pace with the Honda and live with it in a straight line, he's going to start dropping back. That might pop him into the clutches of Lexus, it might pop into the clutches of McLaren. It could be even worse here for Kylian Drumont, but you can see what it means, though, for Porsche at the moment. If the checker flag fell now, it would be a dream start to the grand final with a 3-point advantage over Subaru and even more over the Mazda team as well, who've dropped down into 6th place.
Maybe you've got to just manifest it. Maybe that's the trick. Angel say, you know what, we're going to win this. There it is.
Yeah, I went for a walk with him yesterday. He was so calm, so focused, and so ready to go out and win. He said, no, we're leaving nothing on the table. We are here to win, and that is exactly what we're going to do. He was a man that was absolutely unwavering in the confidence that was underneath him, and that is proving to be absolutely justified here tonight.
Yeah, so right now, Gallo is he's kind of very slowly catching Inestrosa, not by a lot. Only a couple of laps left in this race here at Sardinia, so really interesting back on this circuit. I've got to admit, I thought we'd have a bit of a quiet one here, but it's been anything but that so far. Fast lap of the race, a BMW and Seiya Suzuki down in P7, so he's quick, but he needs to go a bit quicker than that, I think.
Yeah, the problem is their championship challenge has really fallen apart like a cheap watch, courtesy of one race, isn't it? Really, you know.
Why do this to me when you say that?
I can see what you've got on your wrist. Across the timeline we go. McLaren versus Lexus side by side with one another as we come down the start-finish straight in towards the left-hander as we go over the crest of the hill. Lexus on the inside, McLaren on the outside then. So Mangano versus Murphy in the Lexus versus the McLaren. Mazda and Cockerman ready to try and pick their pocket as well. That'll be damage limitation there for Cockerman as they try to ascend their way back up the order following the early dramas that they have suffered. As they flick it through in towards Amanda, it all stays pretty stagnant in terms of the positions for now. Let's have a look at this battle then with Mazda. So this is a lunge to the inside. And I don't know if there was contact there. It just looked like Sejak outbraked himself from that angle, at least, certainly.
I think they both did. Like, there wasn't any clear moving of the car there, but I'm sure Sejak will have his own opinions on what happened there as well. But we really, I mean, for Mazda team and Cockerman, he really needs to invent something now because he's down in 6th place. He needs better points than this. Lexus and McLaren side by side still. That McLaren's getting put on the grass. Yep, why'd you go? And then it comes back on and hits the Mazda there. Cockerman into the barrier goes Team McLaren. I mean, there's a saying in karting which is outside of suicide. He tried it there and he got shown the door, didn't he?
Yeah, not ideal at all there for the team, and good for Mazda. At least they're able to take profit of that position. We go through into the left-hander. That's where the penalty zone is, by the way. So when you see the drivers picking up the penalties, that's where they will serve them. So here are the point standings. You can see there Porsche would be leading the way by 3 points. There would be a tie for second position between Subaru and Mazda if the checker flag fell now. Still a fair gap to Nissan behind there as well. We now begin the last lap of action, though, and what a dream drive this has proven to be for Angel Inestrosa so far in this race. Again, he's just looked calm, controlled and comfortable, as have the entire team here tonight. They've just been absolutely unfathomable.
They have really, really good performance so far from this man, Angel Inestrosa, in that Porsche. Just, he had a bit of luck go his way, we must say, but he's driven very well at the front. Only about half a lap or so before Porsche claimed their second win of the evening here. And it's all going their way. I mean, here is Valerio Gallo. What a drive from Gallo. Probably one of the drives of this show so far. Up 7 places defending from Dumont in that Subaru. And I think Team Mazda pick up the bits. P5 for them. There is Inestrosa, of course, double points for our grand final. So whilst this will put Porsche in the lead going into the final, still all to play for.
Of course, Mazda, their race is it's good damage limitation for them in 5th position. If they can get another place on Lexus, that'll be a very welcome result.
Oh my word! So that AMG did the same trick. It came out of nowhere. Nearly took out 2 cars. What are they doing in that AMG?
Yeah, that circuit is a bit of a legendary place for a dive bomb at this Sardinia road course, and well, no surprise that we're seeing it here, especially on the final lap, as a bit of impatience gets the better of some of the drivers. But Porsche have kept their calm, they've kept their nerve, and they've kept their cool. Angel Inestrosa is going to power Porsche to victory for the second time here in the Manufacturers' Cup. They flick it through the right-hander, and they will take the checkered flag. A penalty for Lexus means that Mazda will elevate themselves up into 4th place, and then subsequently get 2nd place in the standings into the final race. But Porsche takes victory ahead of Honda and ahead of Subaru in 3rd position. Then Mazda now up into 4th place with Lexus down into 5th, with 3 abreast there between AMG, McLaren and Nissan to the checkered flag as well. But what a fantastic drive for Team Porsche, and what confidence they will have going into the grand final.
Man, you see there, you start to get an inkling at this point if you're Angel Inestrosa. You're thinking, you know what, maybe this is the year. Was it 2019 the last time they won an event, Porsche? I don't think it was that long ago, but it's just amazing to
Well, how is it going to work out? We're racing at a brand new venue in the GT World Series. Abu Dhabi is the home for this one, and here is how the grid will line up for the final race. Porsche will be on pole position with Angela Stroza heading the field. Trent Jeffrey will spearhead Honda's charge from that front row as well. Takuma Miyazono P3 for Subaru ahead of Mazda's Pole Eura in 4th place. Lining up on the 3rd row of the grid, Giorgio Mangano for Lexus, former champions, of course, with BMW for company alongside in 6th place. And it's Mercedes-AMG, tricky nice at the office for them so far here today, with McLaren lining up P8 with Yamamoto behind the wheel. Then it's Nissan and Filo in 9th position with Toyota's Kaida Brun in 10th place. Lamborghini and Rosenberg lining up P11 on the grid, and Ferrari with Zhao Jesus behind the wheel in 12th position. Now, of course, we've got tyre strategy, we've got fuel to consider here in this one here, Jimmy, as well. And from what we can see, Porsche are starting this one on the softs. They're trying to get away early. Yeah,
I mean, unsurprising, I think, from what we've seen so far. Interesting, a couple of teams there, you hear them revving on the grid, just trying to burn a bit of fuel. A couple of them have done that now, just have a bit of a lighter car to start with. That's how fine the margins are here. Not sure the engine's going to appreciate that so much, but that's part of the game here at the Gran Turismo World Series.
Absolutely. Well, there is Pole Europe sitting in the Mazda. They line up 4th position here in this one. Just to remind you, great opportunity for them to come through and claim their first ever Manufacturers' Cup crown here tonight. Porsche, of course, on the precipice of greatness there as well. They've never claimed a Manufacturers' Cup champion. We've never had a non-Japanese Manufacturers' Cup champion as well. But what will happen when the lights go out and we go racing for one final time in 2025? Porsche will lead the field across the line, followed by Honda, followed by Subaru, as the grand final for the Manufacturers' Cup is underway in 2025 as we come down towards the first corner here at Abu Dhabi. It's a 90-degree left-hander in a fairly heavy braking zone, but drivers will be trying to get heat into the tyres and the brakes over these first sweeping few corners as they make their way through this first sector of the lap. And a clean start there for Porsche and for Angela Stroza. He's on the soft compound of tyre relative to Honda and Trent Jeffrey, who's going to be a bit of a sitting duck there. We're nearly 3 abreast down to the left-hander. Look at Mazda, 2 places for the price of 1 into the hairpin bend. That's absolutely sensational for Pole Eura on the soft compound of tyres. He's through and into 2nd place.
That was a super important move there for the Mazda, because they need to chase down that Porsche. They need to stay with them. Angela Stroza's balance to go fast early, and of course Pole Eura cannot afford to be stuck behind slower cars on slower compounder tyres. So very important pass there from Eura, and as we see Subaru and Honda close together as well. That Honda on the hard compounder tyre. The hard stint is all about damage limitation, so they'll try their best to stay with the Subaru for now, but Porsche and Mazda already making a little bit of a gap between the rest of the field here.
Yeah, you'd imagine what you're going to be set to see then at this particular point in the race is the soft tyre job runners, so Porsche and Mazda, Stroza and Eura. They'll clear off into the distance. The Subaru and the Lexus will be in 3rd and 4th place as they go side by side with one another through that left-hander. Then you'll see the hard job runners sort of in their own group at the moment. The races generally what they do is they start off a little bit slower, then get a bit interesting in the middle part of the race, then right towards the end, once the strategies diverge in terms of the tyres and in terms of the fuel loads and who's picked and decided what drivers and so on and so forth, that's when it'll get very interesting indeed.
Yeah, but Lexus making a good start there up to P3, also past Team Subaru as well here, so Lexus is always a strong contender in these events. So it was 2018 they won.
First time, and 2024 as well.
And 2024, yes. So they've got pedigree as Lexus, but a reminder, double points, of course, for this race. There your points are on screen. 24 for the winner, so huge haul if you manage to win this. And if the winner of this race is Porsche, Mazda or Subaru, each team respectively will take away the crown here today.
Absolutely. So it's damage limitation then for Honda here. What they've got to try and do is hang on to the coattails of Subaru and Lexus as much as they can. They're involved in their own little sort of battle, as it were, going in towards this hairpin bend. And what Honda would really benefit from is if they just started fighting amongst one another. But however, these drivers, they're very experienced. Behind the wheel of that Lexus is Giorgio Mangano. He's been here since day one. Takuma Miyazono behind the wheel of the Subaru. He knows a thing or two about how to win a title. They're not going to start duffing one another up in this first phase of the race, and look at how they're just playing it safe, just biding their time, lifting off of the throttle down this straight here to try and save a bit of fuel, but also just not get involved in sending one up the inside, costing them both time as they enter into the corner and subsequently dropping them back into those hard shot runners.
There's a possibility that he's just staying there and using the draft of his Lexus down the straight. So we know Subaru's really fast in that last sector, but maybe overall the lap time is quicker with a draft for this Subaru. So a little bit of strategy in play here to go into lap 2. Of course, strategy, just a reminder, each tyre must use a minimum of 5 laps, which means basically every driver has to drive at least 5 laps. So there are stronger and weaker drivers in each team. We tend to see the guys running the soft tyre be the fastest. I say that though. Who's quicker out of Serrano and Inestrosa? That's an interesting one to try and piece apart. But we'll leave that for now as we watch Lexus and Subaru go by what we've sort of christened as the Tifa Memorial there on the right-hand side. And luckily he's not in this race.
Goodness me. I wondered how long it would take. Yeah. 2 laps was the answer.
2 laps.
As it turns out. Out of this final corner we go, across the timing line then. Porsche trying to stretch that advantage. Last time around 153.7. Actually a couple of tenths of a second slower than Mazda and Pol Jura. So the gap's sitting at a bit of a constant. So though they're trying to stretch the advantage, it's not quite working for them. So all that Pol Jura needs to do then here is just drive his own race, sit there in second place, not allow Porsche to get too far off into the distance. As you said, Jimmy, that first lap move where we saw him sending it to the inside down into here on 2 cars, absolutely critical, because if he had waited another couple of corners, even the length of this back straight or so, it could have cost him time. That gap could have gone up from being as second as it is now. It could have been 1.5 seconds. It could have been out of that slipstreaming range.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess now the question is, how long can these guys make that soft tyre last? I mean, tyre wear wise, it seems pretty equal between Porsche and Mazda. Mazda being slightly better on its tyres so far on the data that we have in the moment. The home support there. Nice effort to give him Miyazono. There he is, rocking some very cute gloves as well. Very nice, look at those. Yeah. Was I saying them? C-Sports, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a colour clash, I must be honest, with the red. If I'm being completely transparent.
Is there not a stylist to I'm sure. Send Jules
clearly,
in there.
Clearly not. Have you seen your hair?
This is in fashion, says someone.
Yes, if you woke up in 1978, perhaps. Anyway, Subaru and Takuma Miyazono sitting there in 4th place. I have to say, the loyalty that Takuma Miyazono has shown to Subaru over the years. I mean, if you remember, he won all of the championships back in 2020, and he's stayed with that team ever since. He's won one since then as well, back in 2022. This is Mercedes versus Honda. The advantage of the slipstream there for Mercedes, going through on the inside down at the back straight and getting that move done quite nicely.
A lovely move there, nice and easy. Interestingly, Mazda are starting to pull in a little bit onto the back of Porsche and Angel and Inestrosa. I mean, do you fight with those guys? I mean, you are directly fighting for the series win here, so you have to I think you have to make those moves here. You can't afford to sort of work together. You need to really try and force the other car into as many mistakes as possible. Ferrari picked up a 1-second penalty there. Shame for them. I'm not quite sure what happened, but it was colliding with another car. We might see a replay of that at some point. Meanwhile, we'll focus on this, Subaru and Lexus. Get the impression Miyazono might be getting a little bit impatient now.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up his pace here, isn't he, to give him Miyazono. Let's see whether he can start to bring those fights to the front. Through into that left-hander we go. And
different line there,
yeah, interesting, isn't it? And he's going to have, of course, the advantage of the slipstream. We know the Achilles heel, though, of that Subaru has traditionally been in a straight line. So let's see what it's like compared to the Lexus. Of course, he's got the advantage of the slipstream, and if it was a bit quicker in the straight line, you'd see him pull alongside. But then we did see him lifting off down that back straight earlier on, so I wonder whether there's a similar strategy going on. Unfortunately for Nissan, meanwhile, it's so close into the braking zone, just a smattering of contact there as Miyazono just gets into the back of the Lexus of Giorgio Mangano. But Nissan picking up a penalty there in 8th place as well, the former champions. They've won it back in 2023, if you remember. And, well, this year it has not been particularly brilliant end to it, with Mikolaj Sejak really getting into some bother in his race earlier on here tonight in particular. But a penalty for them. Meanwhile, 3rd and 4th place, Subaru still on the coattails here of Lexus. I think they can have a lug to the inside. They certainly are looking at it. Miyazono with the inside line. It's a brave move if you can make it stick through into there, but he gets it done absolutely wonderfully there. Miyazono into the braking zone as they come under the W Hotel into 3rd position.
Well, I didn't really sense too much resistance there from Mangano. I think he sort of knew it was over, and once you get to that point, that was a good place for him to make that move, because that Subaru is really quick through the last sector, can build hopefully a small bit of a gap for their sake anyway, and avoid being overtaken again on the straight. So here we are, coming to lap 5 of this race. That's a minimum drive time for each driver. So end of this lap, I suspect we'll see the hard runners box, a driver change, and we'll see this race move into its second phase.
Mazda looking a little bit kinder on their tyres compared to Porsche at this early stage of the race, and that's reflected in the lap times. The gap now down to half a second between Porsche and Mazda. 1:54.695 for Inestrosa in the lead, 1:54.481 for Pol Ura in second place. So you can see the gap has come down to under half a second. It's now down to as close as it's been, and I wonder whether we might see a challenge for the race lead before too long. Pulls out of the slipstream as we come onto this back straight though, so certainly not trying to get too close to the back of Inestrosa. Again, trying to play that long game. I wonder though, will we see a divergence in strategy? They're now back on the coattails of Porsche. Are Mazda here then? Are they going to think about maybe the undercut in this race to try and get the better of the race leaders?
It's a possibility. I mean, like, to be honest, if you team Porsche, I don't think the undercut's going to work so much right now. You want to try and stretch that soft tyre for the best life it has. I'm wondering why Pol Ura is opting to stay behind right now. I mean, it's obvious he has the pace over the Porsche. He's caught right up now. Gaps, what you can see on screen. But that Mazda seems to have a little bit of advantage in a straight line. Maybe waiting for the back straight again, or maybe saving fuel. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure how much fuel's going to be. I mean, fuel is going to be a factor here somewhat, but yeah, curious to see what the plan is there.
Yeah, coming through under the hotel we go, and you can see nose tail. This is as close as it's been in the battle for the race lead. 6 laps to remind you. That's about as much as we're reckoning these drivers are going to eke out. So we're coming towards that pit window on the soft tyre. Are we going to see either of the top 2 diving into the pit lane? We are. Mazda come in then. So that's why we were seeing the hurry up for Pol Ura. He was pushing on. That was an in lap for him then here. He just needed to minimise the gap as much as he possibly could. They're going to change their driver as well. So Pol Ura will jump out of that car. Into the car will come Ryoto Kokubun and onto the medium compound of tyre in this middle stint. And also a plethora of hard shot runners all now coming into them as well. I imagine they're all going to do the same. They're just going to try and get off of that hard compound of tyre as soon as they possibly can and all pretty much go on to the medium. So Kokubun in the Mazda, and now of course what he needs is a nice bit of clear air in front of him, which he'll get as a result of the driver who pitted first.
It's really interesting. These guys all hop in.
Porsche
now.
got a penalty, Jimmy.
Oh, why? That's got to be track limits. That's got to be track limits there for Angelo Inestrosa. I saw him flirting with the edge of it here. They're being quite strict here. Basically, if you put 2 wheels on the curb, it is going to, or both front wheels on the curb, I should say, sorry, it is going to be a penalty. So 4 wheels over, sorry, to be clear. Here's a replay. Let's see what it's for.
So we're through the right-hander. This is at turn 2. We're just going to go off to the outside. Yeah, 4 wheels over the white line. So, well, that'll be half a second penalty, something along the lines of that. You know, it doesn't sound like a particularly amount. Yeah, half a second. So not a particularly big penalty, but you don't just lose the time of that half second, you lose the time getting back up to speed again. So it works out about 1.5 seconds, and that could be the difference between making that overcut now, as it has to be, work or not work indeed.
That would definitely make a difference. I think that if they opt to box this lap, Team Porsche, which I think they probably will, they are going to be dropping behind Mazda. Depends if they get in that Porsche next, you know, what sort of stint they're going to run. Are they going to save that medium for the end, or are they going to go for a hard in the middle and then just go for a long medium stint in the end?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Do you now try and, you know, limit the damage, stick your slower driver in, get your medium, your hard stint out of the way in the middle part of it, then come good at the end of the race, doing the reverse of what Subaru have done, courtesy of the fact that they're going to come out, what, I reckon 1.5 seconds, maybe a couple of seconds behind as a result of that penalty that they've picked up.
Let's see, Subaru looking very quick right now. Actually starting to, I think, catch up to the back of, and in comes Porsche. So Angelo Inestrosa in the box, our current leader and points leader boxing. Who's going to get in the car for these guys now, coming in for a fresh set of the double-up tyres? It's Jose Serrano, arguably the fastest man in Gran Turismo at the moment, hopping in that Porsche. What's the tyre, though? Onto the medium set of tyres there. So he'll be going through the long stint. I think that's a good call.
Makes sense, yeah. If you're going to stick your quickest driver in, arguably one of your quickest drivers in, certainly, it's got to be Serrano's, and it's got to be the medium compound of tyre. Maximise that stint of the race. But the question is, what you want to do in this one is where you come out relative to them. Yeah, Mazda have already come out, so they're going to clear off into the distance, but where are Porsche going to come out relative to everybody else? And they're going to have a nice bit of clear air here. So Mazda there, it's not working out particularly brilliantly there for them as well. So what have they dropped in terms of time? It's about a second and a half or so, exactly as we were expecting there between Mazda and between Porsche. So, yeah, interesting to see how that's worked out. Not at all for Porsche, unfortunately.
Well, really a strong outlap there Kokobun, I don't think. I think that should have been a bigger gap, considering the penalty. See the Porsche there opting to pull off into the side of the road there as the lights come on and the darkness descends here at Abu Dhabi. I mean, I don't really recognise the circuit beside this, so looking forward to seeing how that looks. Replay here between BMW and Honda. So what happened here?
So coming through into the final corner, BMW are going to looking for the inside line. Oh, beautiful bit of switchback on the inside. Gets that move done absolutely wonderfully there for BMW. That's Thomas Laboutelet, who was behind the wheel of the car. Meanwhile, the sharp end of this, now Subaru with Lexus right on their coattails. So this was the battle for third place, just to remind you, prior to the pit stops. They are the drivers who start on the medium competitive tyre. They haven't yet pitted. About 9 laps or so. That's what we reckon the medium tyres are going to be able to eke out in this race. But Lexus and Subaru, they kept each other honest in the opening stage of this race. And they're just sitting there waiting for the right opportunity. I don't think they're going to send anything to the inside. We're not going to see that from Giorgio Mangano behind the wheel of that Lexus. But, again, they just kept Subaru in their sights for now. Kept the gap at a constant, playing the patient game.
Yep. So, looking at Team Subaru right now, one of our contenders here at the Grand Finals at Fukuoka. It all comes down to this. It's been a long year for these guys. Our 4th event, of course, for our Manufacturers' Cup, with 3 teams in it to win it: Mazda, Subaru and Porsche. Currently, if it ended as it was, Subaru would be your champions, but they've not pitted yet, so probably not going to happen. But right now, Giorgio Mangano keep them honest in the Lexus. You know, as you say, former champion 24 and 2018, so big pedigree for Team Lexus. Unfortunately, points-wise, not really in contention for the win here today, even if there were points.
And it's a shame for Lexus because, as we know, reigning Manufacturers' Cup champions, it just hasn't worked out for them this season. They've been sufferers of a fair bit of misfortune, but also they've just not really been in the same league as some of the other drivers, some of the other teams, and the consistencies that we've seen over the course of this season. And that goes back to the old adage of consistency creates champions, and that's exactly what we've seen over the course of this year. And it's ultimately what has been the downfall of Lexus's title defence in 2025. They are, though, still sitting on the back of the Subaru.
I think he's thinking about it now. He's starting to think, right, okay, I'm getting a bit bored of sitting there. Although saying that, washing wide, understeering, those front tyres starting to wear on that Lexus, you can really see the difficulty of turning in there. The car won't rotate in the same way it used to as we go through this very technical section. There is actually quite a bit of camber. You don't quite see it on the broadcast, but it's off camber both his corners, so the car is really difficult to get to the apex. And there, see how close they get to the wall. In the background there, Kylian Drumont waiting behind Miyazono. He'll be in next. Miyazono pulls to the right-hand side into the pit lane from his first stint. Will box at the end of lap 8. So 1 lap earlier than we expected there, and Kylian Drumont will get in. What tyres they're going to put on for Drumont? It has to be soft, surely.
Yeah, we need to see what the time is in terms of laps for Takuma Miyazono. It's 1:57.264, but it's the sector time set, because you would imagine Miyazono is going to come in next time around. But will they be able to, now they're in clear air, just run their own race, get a good in-lap for this? Soft tyres going on the Subaru, so you would imagine the Lexus, Giorgio Mangano behind the wheel of that car, is probably going to follow the same strategy, just mirror what they're doing and then duke it out in the closing stages of the race.
Meanwhile, Lexus leading now, owing to the fact that Subaru have pitted. Mazda and Porsche's got right onto the back of Mazda now. That gap down from 1.5 seconds to just over 7/10 of a second. That'll be in slipstream range. 4/10
of a second quicker last time around Jose Serrano compared to Ryota Kokobun in this middle stint. You were mentioning that Jose Serrano is arguably one of the quickest drivers in GT, and he's proving that here at this phase of the race. And this could be the thing that wins Porsche this race, and possibly even the championship here tonight as well. As this middle stint depends on what happens here for Jose Serrano, but if he can keep himself honest with Mazda, when they go onto the hard tyres in the closing stages, they could be right there in contention, especially after suffering that misfortune prior to the first pit stop.
It's all going to unravel soon. We'll keep an eye on it, of course, as we get towards the midway here of the grand final. Lexus leader. I assume they'll be boxing this lap. Mangano, the pace is starting to fall for Mangano now, so you don't want to be staying out too long. I do wonder if they can find themselves maybe on the podium for this last race here. That'd be very interesting for them.
Well, just to give you an idea of the difference in sector times, last time around, middle sector for Ryota Kokobun, who's on fresher medium tyres, compared to Giorgio Mangano, who's on pretty clapped out medium tyres. It was about 6 or 7 tenths of a second in that middle sector. So no guesses as to how the Lexus is faring at the moment in terms of the tyre wear and in terms of the grip that will be missing from Giorgio Magano's foot. And there we go, into the pit lane. Surely they're going to go onto the soft tyres in this middle stint and mirror what Subaru have done. I think anything else would be a little bit foolish, to be completely honest. No, in fact, well, there you go. They've turned that around. They've gone onto the hard tyre, so they're going for the soft tyre in the closing stages then of this race and diverging from the strategy of Team Subaru. Is that going to be something that will pay off for them, because they'll have to do a very short final stint?
That's the thing, though, that Lexus is quick on the straights, and that combined with a soft tyre compared to Subaru, who will be slow on the straights with a hard tyre, you know, it'll make their job a lot easier, I think, in the last stint. But we'll see as we go on to lap 10 here.
I wonder what it'll be like in terms of the gap for Lexus once they come out of the pit lane, because if they can stay within slipstream range of a car in front, that'll really help them out in terms of keeping that gap at a constant and limiting the damage, and it's worked out nicely. So they've clearly been calculating that between the teams and the drivers. They've got, of course, driver to team radio, so they can communicate with one another. They've obviously looked at the gaps, done the calculations on the fly. 1.5 seconds, it's just about enough to be within slipstreaming range, as we see Mazda versus Porsche starting to kick off into the braking zone of the left-hander. Porsche with the inside line challenging for the race lead, and Jose Serrano goes through on Ryota Kokubun to hit the front for the first time then in the Porsche. Are we going to see a retaliation though from Mazda as we come in towards the next braking zone? They're in the slipstream here, and are they going to think about sending it through to the inside or the outside? Well, Serrano's parking the car on the inside of the corner. Mazda aren't going to be able to launch anything through because the line is going to be blocked unless Serrano runs it a bit wide. It sort of switches back on the inside as they go side by side with one another. We come through in towards the third sector. Mazda on the outside now as we flick it through to the right. Porsche on the inside. They hold the line and they'll hold the plate into the braking zone as well.
I mean, here are your two title contenders fighting it out right now. Team Porsche, Team Mazda separated by less than 3/10 of a second. Team Porsche now leading courtesy of that move from Jose Serrano, which of course now, if the race were to end, would mean they will take the title today. It literally is. Whoever finishes first out of these two will be the one to win this title.
Keep an eye out for Subaru as well. Kylian Drummond is on the soft competitive tyre here, Jimmy, in this middle stint of the race. They started third, they are now third. They've got a gap of about 7 seconds or so. So Kylian Drummond's in a great position. He can use that soft tyre to his advantage, run a nice clean middle stint in this race. Of course, they're going to have to pay for that later on because they're going to owe the hard tyre in the closing stages of the race. But I wonder how this is going to work out for them as we come in towards it, because of course Porsche and Mazda are also going to owe that hard tyre in the final stint. So if Subaru and Drummond can close that gap down, it could go from a two-way fight between Porsche and Mazda up to a three-way tussle.
I mean, we'll see. It's going to be a big ask for that Subaru to pull this back in again. But if anyone can do it, it will be Kylian Drummond. And of course, as you say, that'll be our three title contenders all fighting, which is, I mean, it just goes to show who's been the most consistent, who's been the quickest this season when they're all there fighting at the end like this.
Well, exactly what Kylian Drummond is going to need is Porsche and Mazda to continue battling like they were last time around.
But they know this. These guys aren't silly. Now they'll know they can't afford to be fighting for each other, especially experienced heads like Ryota Kokubun and, of course, Jose Serrano. That's why I think the move was so decisive. Like, right, I'm going to go now. Let's not fight anymore. Let's get on with it. And you have to think, actually, now look at it, the Porsche is very slowly edging away from that Mazda.
Toyota and Honda under investigation for a collision. They're down in 8th and 9th place respectively, so not been a particularly brilliant race for them to ride home about. We ride on board though meanwhile here with Kokubun then in the Mazda, through into the right hander. This is where we saw a challenge for position last time around. No such dramas though here on lap 11 out of 20. Of course, one more stint left for all of the drivers left to run in this race. They must run at least of all three of the tyre compounds in this one, and there's also a question as to how they're going to do it in terms of the fuel strategy as well. I think most will be waiting for the final stint to do their fuel top-ups towards the end of this race. Through to that right hand, and we go a little bit wide there at the final corner for Porsche and for Jose Serrano. I wonder if he's to be taking a little bit more out of his tyres relative to the Mazda in this one as we descend into the darkness.
On board with the Mazda and Kokubun. Great pictures there as we go out for another lap for this very fast section. Toyota receiving a 1 second penalty for a collision with another car. We've not seen that at the moment, but
yeah, that was with Honda. We saw the investigation come up. Yep. So clearly they've been deemed to be the aggressor. Just looking at the gap here, Jimmy, as well. 6.3 seconds with Subaru. So it's coming down, isn't it, here? Just to give you an idea of the difference in lap times between the top two and Kylian Drew mediums and the softs. It's about half a second or so quicker. Here's what happened there between Toyota and Honda. To the inside go Toyota, and into the side of Honda they go as well. That opens the door subsequently for Nissan, so drops them down, and they pick up a 1 second penalty for their troubles.
Yeah, simple that one. Track limits warning from Team Master. You've got to be careful of this, guys. The stewards are pretty on it around here. So the stewards have basically said, listen, we're going to turn a lot of the penalties off here. Just make sure if you go over, we're going to watch it. We're watching these manually today. So Master there getting a bit of a reminder of that by the stewards. On board then with Cookman. I did say Serrano was spinning away, but that seems to have come back towards us now. So this is going to go down the wires. Look how close there Cookman is to the back of that Porsche. And lap time wise, what you were saying, it's not a big gap. It's like maybe 7/10 of that faster is the Subaru right now, which is not enough to catch these guys before those soft tyres run out.
No, absolutely. Again, what Drummond is going to need here is them to start squabbling. They had such a good first stint of this race, did Porsche and Mazda, being on that soft competitive tyre. But of course, they're going to be paying that pain in this middle stint. But as you say, the gap, it's just a bit too far away for Drummond and for Subaru. And of course, the problem with those soft tyres, yes, they're quick, but they don't have the same longevity as the medium tyres. So 6 laps into that stint, they're going to be absolutely knackered. And Kylian Drummond's already 4 laps into that, so they're coming towards the end of their useful shelf life, or will be in a lap or so's time. Down to just under 6 seconds for the first time is the gap between Porsche, Mazda and Subaru. But I think that challenge is going to come to a fairly abrupt end before too long. See the crowd here in Fukuoka watching on the bottom left-hand side of your picture. What a fantastic city this has proven to be, and what a great venue it is for the grand final of the Manufacturers' Cup, the World Finals indeed, of the GT World Series. So Porsche then, we ride on board with them. Another reminder in terms of your strategy, so a long middle stint for those on the medium tyres, a la Porsche, Mazda and pretty much everybody else behind, aside from Subaru. But they'll be going on to the hard tyres for that final stint of the race. They'll be slower relative to some other teams around. Everybody from BMW down has not run the soft compounded tyre yet, aside from Ferrari. So they're going to be significantly quicker in the closing stages of this one. If we start getting squabbles, start getting big battles amongst one another, that's when we could see the soft shop runners getting involved in the action.
Could have been about as close as he has been so far. When we see him going from looks to the inside, they're kind of a half look. A little bit of contact there in the back of Hogan and the Porsche. Kokeman is starting to get a little bit impatient, it has to be said. I think now he's starting to realise that the gap behind him is coming down a bit too quickly for his liking. He knows that he might not be fighting directly with Subaru behind him, but with BMW, with AMG. So he needs to make sure he gets as far forward as possible before boxing for that last set of tyres. Porsche there, looking at dragging at the front. They both owe that hard compound. So that last stint for them is going to be, well, paid really compared to this first couple of stints. And they've only got a couple more laps before they have to pit. 5 laps minimum of each set of tyres. This one and one more, and they have to box.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just to let you know as well, because there's a bit of a divergence in terms of the strategies between Porsche and Mazda and Subaru as well. They should pit relatively around a similar sort of time on that hard compound tyre. BMW then into the box. They're the first of the medium shop runners in this final stint to blink. They're going to be going onto the soft tyre for their final stage of this race. Out of the car jumps Thomas Lebutele. Into the car jumps Saya Suzuki. We know how quick he can be on his day. Lamborghini, meanwhile, picks up a 1 second penalty for colliding with another car. That could prove to be pretty costly for them in that sort of mid-pack battle. Meanwhile, the Porsche of Jose Serrano just doing exactly what he loves to do, leading from the front, not falling under pressure. Half a second is the advantage that they hold over Mazda for now, but they pick up a warning for track limits. We saw that with Mazda a couple of laps or so ago. The stewards just keeping a watching eye on things. They're not going to be happy at all if they do pick up some penalties as a result.
And to be honest, it might even come down to that, you know, because Subaru, whilst they are a bit further behind, of course, it's a different strategy for them at the end, I think. So, one misplaced corner exit, turning in a little bit too early. That 0.5 second penalty could change everything. And it has done in the past, it can do again. As Kokeman looks out. No! He's hit Serrano. Serrano's round. That's huge. Porsche there sideways. Kokeman into the back, and that's going to allow Team Subaru to come back into the fight. That's just changed everything there. As Kokeman gets it wrong, he gives the position back, but the damage is done there. And man, oh man, you saw him double guess it on the way in. He thought about it and then thought, yeah, he committed too late. far too late for that to work out, and that's cost them both about 3 seconds.
Proper save, though, from Jose Serrano, if I may say so. Very well done. Great car control. And now we're going to start to see the final pit stops taking place as well. So Angelina Stroza is going to jump into that car next time around.
No, Stroza, he started the race.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. No, he's just, he's watching on. So it'll be Sato, won't it, for the final stint? You're absolutely right. Meanwhile, there are your live points rankings. So whoever wins this one will be winning this race. No further action. They deemed it a racing incident. I mean, I suppose you could look at it and say that, Cockerman, of course, he made a mistake, but he didn't gain anything as a result of that. It's as it was.
He did, but Subaru did, and so did the rest of the field. So, I mean, what the steward would say is final. AMG in now. Now another contenders race. Onto the soft compounder tyres goes the AMG. There is Kraz-e as well hopping in.
Benelli onto the AMG, isn't he? So he's jumped into that one. Lanuza is out of the car. Nissan also into the box. Lexus as well. So now we're starting to see everybody else who's on the soft shod tyres. So they, of course, have been out of sequence relative to the front sort of top four, really, in this race. Because, of course, they started on the slower compounds of tyre, and I wonder if it might bring them back into contention. Meanwhile, Porsche versus Mazda at the sharp end of this one, and you're absolutely right, Jimmy. I mean, if you remember, the gap between Subaru and the top two was, 5.5 seconds or so. It's now down to under 4 seconds as a result of that contact that we saw last time around. So we're now coming into the final stages of this race. Out of the Porsche is going to get Jose Serrano. Into the car is going to go Shota Sato, and let's see what he is going to be able to do on that hard tyre in the final stages of this one. In terms of the Mazda as well, we're going to see we're going to see Samuel Cardinal in the car, aren't we, for the final stint? So let's see how it works out. You see how close they are through this final stage as they come under the W Hotel and through that left-hander, and this surely is now going to be the final part of this one. Big wiggle there for Cockerman as he just gets a bit too greedy under the power as the tyres are now really starting to get away, and into the box they both come at the end of lap 15 for their final pit stop of 2025 in the Manufacturers' Cup.
Yeah, slightly better box there from Mazda, that just a 10th gained anywhere is worth it, and now it's going to be a showdown. Amazing. It all comes down to this. The last 5 laps here at Fukuoka, the grand final of the Manufacturers' Cup. Team Porsche, Team Mazda, Team Subaru are your top 3 in the points, your top 3 contenders here. Whoever finishes first out of these 3 teams, this race will be the champion. Sato is charged with taking the car home for Team Porsche. Danny Solis in the car for Subaru. Who's in the car for Mazda, Tom?
In the Mazda, it'll be Samuel Cardinal for the final stint of this race. So let's see what the Canadian driver is going to be able to do. So Sato in at Porsche, Cardinal in at Mazda, Solis in at Subaru.
Where is Team BMW? They can upset the apple cart here, as you would say, Mr. Brooks. And they're not quite out of the pit lane yet. So I think realistically, they've got a bit of a run back, 2 seconds back to... Oh, wow, they're closer than I thought, Tom. Wow.
They are.
And there they are, you can see them.
And they're going to be right on them like a shot before too long. 1.6 seconds, that's absolutely nothing given the performance advantage of these soft tyres. And they could be a bit of an upset because, look, the leaders, they're not too far down the road. There's 4 laps left of this one. Plenty of time for it to play out, especially if the top 2 start duffing one another up. We come down the back straight in towards the hairpin bend of the left-hander, rather I should say. At the moment, it's Porsche who will be the champions. If Mazda get into the lead, they'll be champions, but there's still plenty of time for a disruption here.
BMW and AMG are going to be rapid in these last few laps. We saw the time difference between the soft and the hard tyre being nearly 2 seconds a lap. So you have to keep an eye out for these guys now, as Sam Cardinal in that Mazda had a race win earlier on today at the Daytona events. This is a bit different from Daytona, more a couple of right-handers than this one, so definitely a bit difficult. But look, already, BMW is already on the back of Team Subaru. This is important for Subaru. They can't afford to lose places, but really they're just a sitting duck. Danny Solis doing his best to defend, but that BMW far quicker on that soft unlock tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you sort of limit the damage then by this point and just sort of let them, not fight it too much, just get on with it? Let's wait and see what will happen. But Solis there just, again, keeping, the normal racing line as we come through into the final sector. Mercedes AMG there as well with Lucas Benelli, who's behind the wheel, and these two are going to be diving to the inside. Look at the grip they've got. BMW go through and into third place. Where's Lucas Benelli? He's ready to try and pick his pocket as well. Through into the right-hander of the final corner. Benelli doesn't have a gap there to use the extra momentum and the extra grip. On the exit of the corner, though, he does. Pulls alongside the Subaru. Benelli and Mercedes then are up through and into fourth place. Subaru lose 2 places in as many corners.
See Solis was really struggling there. Wasn't really troubling the apex at all at the last corner, so that's him down to 5th now. And the German march of BMW and Team AMG go onwards after Team Mazda. So the gap between Mazda and Porsche 7/10. So basically, it's between these two really for the ultimate, for the grand final for the series. But these two could upset that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, what, 3 seconds or so? It's a gap that looks pretty big, and we've got 3 laps left. You wonder how soon they're going to be able to close up onto the back of them.
Well, it's 2 seconds a lap. It's a lap and a half. So we'll see it probably mid to lap 18. Really starting to go back. Here comes Spinelli there. He wants to lead the charge. Through he goes up at the inside there, into the braking zone, up into 3rd place. Goes Spinelli in the AMG, past Seiya Suzuki in the BMW. It's been a while since Spinelli has been at the front of one of these events, and I'm sure he's hungry to try and take a win here at the grand final. Subaru, a 1 second track penalty, goes from bad to worse for Team Subaru and Danny Solis. That'll put them into the clutches of Nissan. How far will Subaru drop?
Well, Subaru are now out of contention for the overall victory in the Manufacturers' Cup. That's them done and dusted. You can pretty much count them out for it. Meanwhile, this is the effective battle for the race win in the grand final of the Manufacturers' Cup between Mercedes and between BMW. It'd be great for Mercedes. They need something to smile about after what has been a torrid couple of seasons in this championship. They came close to winning the Cup overall a few years ago, but that was ever such a distant memory now, and you can see them closing up onto the back. What is it now? 2.5 seconds. They've taken 1.5 seconds out over the course of this 2nd and 3rd sector alone.
What do you do if you're Mazda and Porsche right now? Because realistically, you're fighting each other, but you've got these two teams charging behind you. Do you just let them through, or do you fight for the win?
But I don't think you can do anything, can you? Because the difference of pace and grip and performance between the soft tyre and the hard tyre is so vast. What, 2.2 seconds last time? I don't think there's going to be anything they can do. They're just going to go through like they're sitting still. Mercedes and BMW are surely going to go on in this battle for victory, and then you're going to have a battle for what is a 3rd place in this race that will be overall for the Manufacturers' Cup title.
And whilst all this is happening, Mazda are closing on Team Porsche. The gap coming down from 7/10 to half a second, though. Sam Cardinal in the RX Vision harrying the Porsche 911 in front at the moment. This is going to be such an exciting finish here to the Manufacturers Series in 2025. Benelli there, though, hunting both of them down in the AMG.
So just to give you an idea, 16 points on offer for 3rd place, 14 points on offer for 4th place. So it's a 2-point swing in it, but there's 2 points in it between the gaps at the start of this race. Let's have a look, though, at what's happening here between Mazda and Porsche. They're going to start to get their elbows out here before too long. Lap 18 out of 20. Are we going to see a dive from Samuel Cardinal down the back straight in towards the hairpin bend? Sato goes to the defensive line on the inside. Cardinal looks towards the outside of the Mazda. Don't think he can make anything stick through there. Nothing opening on the switchback on the inside as well. But what is opening is an opportunity for AMG and for BMW in the battle for this victory. They're closing up onto the back of the top 2 at a vast rate of knots, and surely it's a matter of when and not if they're going to strike in this battle for victory here.
But this is for everything. This is the battle for the win of the entire Manufacturers' Cup. Right now, Porsche and Mazda separated by less than 3/10 of a second. You can sense that Sam Cardinal thinks he can win this in that Mazda. He's got the pace. He's stayed with the Porsche. He's caught back up again. But can the Porsche hold him off? Can Sato hold off and take Porsche to a historic first Manufacturers' Cup win? As you said, Tom, a non-Japanese manufacturer has never won a Manufacturers' Cup or series event. So it's all going to come down to here. Benelli in the AMG's right at the back of the Mazda now.
Yeah, we come through into the left and then the right-hander, and this is where Benelli's going to have so much more grip through the sweeping fast right-hander into the braking zone of the hairpin. We're going to go, and are we going to see Benelli launching his way through to the inside? Not quite on this occasion, but it's surely going to be the exit of the corner. Look at the traction he'll have underneath his right foot as we come down this 1 kilometre long back straight. He'll have more grip underneath him at this point. He'll have more grip into the braking zone, and surely he's going to be able to challenge for position. Mazda diving to the inside line then here, trying to defend that position. Benelli looking for a way through. Are we going to go nearly 3 abreast? Is he going to split the 2 of them? Into the braking zone we go. Benelli and Mercedes on the inside and through and into second. They split the top 2 on the hard competent tyre. On the exit of the corner though, Porsche are onto the curb, and here comes Benelli once more. He's got more grip on the exit of the corner. We come down the back straight we go, and Cardinal's ready to try and pick his pocket there as well. Side by side we are for 2nd and 3rd. Side by side we are all also for the race lead into the braking zone. Around the outside goes Benelli. Contact there with Mazda. Goodness me, what drama we see on the penultimate lap. And the upshot is Lucas Benelli goes from challenging to the victory to being out of contention. Surely there's a penalty on the way there.
That is huge. They both went to try and put out at the same time there. I mean, a bit of miscommunication between the two. I'd be interested to hear what the stewards say, but it'll be such a shame for it to end that way, because Cardinal was looking fast. Regardless, though, penultimate lap, penultimate time through here right now. A 9/10 of a second gap for Team Porsche. Can Sato bring it home for this German manufacturer? But still in the background, look, BMW are there now. They're looking quick on that soft compounder tyre. It's 1, 2, 3 across the line. Your final lap here at Fukuoka. Will a steward's decision decide this race? We can only find out.
Well, let's hope the decision comes before the end of this final lap. Through the first corner for the last time we go. Porsche, Mazda and BMW all in your picture at the moment. The soft tyre shod BMW of Seiya Suzuki, who is behind the wheel of that car at the moment, is surely going to be doing exactly what Lucas Benelli was doing just one lap ago and threatening in this battle for the race lead. Down in towards the left-hander we go. Porsche leading the way for now. Samuel Cardinal, I don't think he's going to be quite close enough. It gets a bit of a poor exit on the hairpin bend there, but where is Suzuki in relation to it? He's still 7/10 of a second away. He's not quite close enough to challenge at the moment. Mazda get a 2-second penalty for their involvement, so that is going to deny them an opportunity of the Manufacturers' Cup title here in 2025. And if Porsche rather I should say, are able to keep it on the straight and narrow and not come under any pressure from BMW in the closing stages of this one, they will be crowned as the champions of this season.
What a shame for Team Mazda. Well fought there, and not a way you want to see one of these races end at all, but that does give breathing room to Sato. It is now a victory lap for Porsche and Sato. So many years we've been doing this. 2018 we started this series here, and ever since then we've never seen a non-Japanese manufacturer take the win here, but Porsche now only corners away from making Gran Turismo history.
Well, what a season it has been for Team Porsche. Consistency creates champions, as the old adage goes, and that has certainly proven to be the case for the German manufacturer. Angel Estrosza of Chile, Jose Serrano of Spain, and Japan's Shota Sato, who is behind the wheel here in his home race in Fukuoka, will come around the final corner. Porsche become the Manufacturers' Cup champions of 2025 here in Japan. What a phenomenal season from the German manufacturers. They create history in the Gran Turismo World Series to become the first ever non-Japanese manufacturer to win the crown. BMW over the line in second place, and Mazda against all the odds despite that penalty on the final lap. Let's see how this one is going to play out then. Prototype machinery and a variety of different cars over the course of this legendary circuit in the heart of Belgium. Kai de Bruyne in the Toyota GT1 on pole position. He's got Samuel Cardinal in the Sauber Mercedes C9 alongside. Then you've got Jose Serrano in the 2010 Peugeot 908. Kylian Drumont in the Nissan R92. That's going to be a tricky machinery on the Lyrit, with Paul Ura in 5th place in the Jag XJR9. Then the Mazda 787B that we saw a few moments ago. Takuma Miyazono behind the wheel of that one. The Toyota GR10 Hybrid from 2021 is alongside Valerio Galli's Porsche 962 from the 80s. Then you've got Takuma Sasaki in the Porsche 919, Guy Barbara in the Mazda LM55 Vision Gran Turismo, in Estrosza in the Audi R18 from 2016, and Adriano Kraz-e in the Hyundai N Vision Gran Turismo machine. Now, Jimmy, as we said, variety of different machinery for this one. There's been a fair bit of balance of performance action going on as well.
Yeah, really tricky, because a lot of these cars, of course, would never race each other in periods, so getting them to race well together here is one of the tasks of our BOP management here. But something to mention, of course, I actually had a go at some of these cars earlier on in that 787B. Very capable car around here, very quick in the corners. But that GT1 Toyota we've seen from practice, incredibly fast down the straights, but lacking in the corners. So it's going to be an interesting one. This I don't really know how to call it right now.
No, absolutely not. And just to remind you of the points as well, it's double points on offer for the first and the second race compared to what we've had so far in the GT World Series. So 6 points was on offer for the wins in the first 3 events. Now it's 12 points on offer. That then gets doubled again for the grand final here tonight. So there's a lot to play for and a big opportunity for an upset in terms of the standings, with Jose Serrano, of course, still leading. Let's get the race underway then. The Nations Cup race 1 here in Fukuoka is go, with Kai de Bruyne leading down towards La Source, with Samuel Cardinal followed by Jose Serrano. Are we going to see any dive bombs on the inside there? Looks like Miyazono was trying to lunge through in the Mazda 787B. He's now into 5th place as we come out on the run out of La Source. Kai de Bruyne's gone from pole position down to 3rd, with Jose Serrano now occupying the front of this race. Up through the rise of Eau Rouge and Radion we are for the first time into the Kemmel Straight, and Miyazono's all out of shape, nearly into the back of Kai de Bruyne. That cost him time, cost him a place also to Samuel Cardinal. So we're only about 3 or 4 corners old in this race, and now we've got a change of lead because we're 3 abreast down the start finish straight. Serrano on the inside, Drumont in the middle, Kai de Bruyne on the outside. Who's last of the late breakers? Serrano it is that manages to retain the lead. Drumont into 2nd, and Miyazono somehow, after all of that drama from La Source and in towards Eau Rouge, manages to get himself into 3rd.
De Bruyne's had a mistake somewhere. He's down to P8 from pole position. So a familiar story there from Kai de Bruyne as Takuma Miyazono goes side by side with Paul Ura. Sasaki moving up as well in the Porsche 919. So a hectic start there, and profiting from all of that is Jose Serrano. Great start from the Spaniard, ideal for him as we're in the midfield there. Paul Ura battling against Sasaki, and you're seeing all the differences of these cars here. Angela Stroza up to P5. Those hybrids really fast at the start here, but being held up slightly by this Jaguar. Look at that cork in the bottle of it, and they're all together. You can barely throw a towel over them.
Yeah, you can see the newer prototype cars are just so much quicker in this mid-section, the technical part of the circuit. When you get onto the long straights, that's when the older machinery will prove to be beneficial. But look at the gap the top two have got already at this stage. Jose Serrano, Kylian Drumont already with 2.3 seconds in their pockets over Paul Ura, and you've got cars there that are separated by about 18 years in terms of total time. The 2010 Peugeot 908 being chased by the 1992 Nissan as we come down in towards the bus stop chicane. Drumont having a look, Serrano going for a slightly defensive line into there, manages to get it all up as we see Ura going very deep down in towards the chicane, just about manages to hold position, but Miyazono and Sasaki ready to pounce behind as we start lap 2.
Now, what a sight so far in this race. Look at that gap between 2nd and 3rd. Paul Ura got a lot to do to try and bring that back from now. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack goes through the Source. Serrano leading down the hill, but the gap now 8/10 of a second to Drumont, who we now ride on board with in this awesome Nissan Group C car. What a camera angle this is. Think about the power this thing has driving through the rear wheels. It's very tricky to get through the midfield, and now look at that, the legs of this thing, holding it in 4th gear, 305 k's, nearly 310 k's. Look at the speed difference, almost run into the back of Jose Serrano there, but you're seeing the strength of that thing. So if Drumont can hold on through this midsection, he can attack then in the first and last, which are much more based around top speed. Here's Miyazono. He's trying to defend here from Paul Ura, 787B, running well so far, but there's now a big gap between the leaders and this second pack.
Gallo and De Bruyne under investigation for a collision. Gallo's down in 10th place, De Bruyne's in 7th position, so De Bruyne clearly in the wars on the opening lap there of that race, and it's cost him a fair bit, and might be set to cost him a little bit more as well. Down in towards Pouhon Week, we can pick out what happened between Gallo and De Bruyne. So Gallo's there in 10th place. Where's De Bruyne going to unfur in all of this? So Gallo got into the side of De Bruyne, and that sent Guy Barbara into the pit wall on the exit of the first corner as well. That's why the Australian driver is now down into 11th place.
Man, Guy Barbara can't catch a break, can he? It seems that every time he comes to one of these, something happens, he's off the back of the field. But shame for Cardinal as well, strong qualifying, now P10. So goes to show the car choice in that first corner shuffle. All about it. Here comes Paul Ura using the V12, that mighty Jaguar, up into P3, and he's not really defending there as the two hybrid cars, the Audi and the Porsche, follow on through behind. Well, what an interesting combination. Two Group C cars, two hybrid cars, they both dive up the inside. Their camera cuts away at the worst time possible. Stroza, I think, has got by in the Porsche up to P4. Sasaki there, still though in up to P5, sorry, in the R18.
Inestrosa up 7 places from where he started on the grid. He was 11th, just to remind you as well. So the Chilean really making some good ground in the opening stage of this race. Very impressive. It's only an 8-lapper, which doesn't sound that long, but of course it's a very long lap here at Spa-Francorchamps, about 7 kilometres in total, as Laboutelet has come into the pit lane then here. So clearly some problems for the Frenchman, because we weren't expecting any pit stops in this race. Not quite sure what has happened to him, but that's not a good way for him to start proceedings for the World Finals. Meanwhile, Inestrosa in the slipstream with Jura looking to the inside down at Lake Coombe. Can he make it stick? Side by side they go. Jura's got the inside line as soon as we to the outside line, and then Inestrosa does go through the Audi R18 and into third place. That's opened the cork in the bottle. Look at it. The two followers of Miyazono and Sasaki are ready to pounce there as well.
Yeah, what a great little scrap this is there. Again, 2 Group C cars taking on cars far younger than them, and still just about managing to hold on. I think Inestrosa in third place now. I think he's got to try and look forward, try and chase down Drummond Serrano. They've had an easy time, I think, so far. Update on the Laboutelet there. I think that's just a rage quit, Tom. 2 in 2 days from him, man. Poor showing. Don't like to see that.
Disappointed there for Thomas Laboutelet then. Either way, to have ended his race early. We go through in towards the chicane then, in the middle part of it, and look at the gap there that Inestrosa has got to make up. 3.3 seconds, a tall order. What he'll have to hope for is Drummond and Serrano to start battling with one another. We have seen a few exchanges of position, but nothing that's going to drop them back to the rest of the field. Out over at Paul Frere we go, and in towards Blanchimont as we head towards the bus stop, and you can hear the howl of that Mazda 787B in the distance as we ride on board with Sasaki in the Porsche 919 into the braking zone. And look at the straight line speed. Inestrosa's got the inside line here with Paul Jura trying to attack for position, but into the braking zone. That's a car that Inestrosa is piloting of the Toyota is pretty handy, and no such threat is able to be made by Paul Jura.
So in the background of that GT1 popping into frame, and Kai de Bruin. And what an awful start from Kai de Bruin. I mean, we were sort of saying earlier with Kai, he's really fast over a single lap, but just can't always seem to get it together in the race. And the same, I think, seemingly happened there as well. But we go on board with Miyazono again, using that draft, and they're going to be a bit quicker than this Audi in the straight line. It's slow down the straights, this Audi. Look at it, really slow. Here comes the Jaguar, here comes the Mazda. Through they go, past Inestrosa in the 787B with Miyazono. Awesome pictures here as you make it through Lake Coombe. And what an awesome little back and forth is these hybrids. They charge up the hybrid during the braking zone, so they'll get a burst initially out of the corner, then they're slowed down into the straight, whereas these 787Bs, what's hybrid, they say? Let's just burn more dinosaurs. That's how they do it.
Yeah, certified 90s moment there. Yeah. Super fast down the straight with those two cars. Inestrosa, we ride on board with him. My apologies, I said he was in a Toyota a few minutes ago. Of course, he's in an Audi R18. I need to get my eyes tested. Coming down and towards Buon we go as we ride on board with the Chilean driver. Interesting fact for you, by the way. Half of this grid, 50%, they're all former champions in one way or another. Some in the Nations Cup, some in the Manufacturers' Cup. But a very, very well-esteemed grid in this, and that is why we're seeing such close competition on track. Through this chicane we go, as Miyazono is now going to be the driver that is under threat here from Inestrosa.
Of course, both Serrano and Inestrosa both part of the winning combination for the Manufacturers' Cup yesterday, so they're on a bit of a high at the moment with that momentum. Enjoying this battle yet again. Definitely the most interesting part of this race. It's a little scrap for third. As at the front, you see that Jura is just trying to get away in this Jaguar, but they can't do it. As soon as they break down here again into the bus stop, it's a big recharge over these hybrids. They're going to have a huge burst of speed coming out of these corners here and have a chance of getting back on through past the Group C cars.
Not a great race so far for Kai de Bruin, as we know from pole position. He's down into 7th place. Also for Sam Cardinal as well. We've hardly mentioned the Canadian. He's into 10th position at the moment, considering where he started on the grid. He was on the front row. So the two drivers who were very quick in qualifying earlier on this afternoon, it's not translated into a strong race result for them here so far. Still a few laps left to go though, as we come over the rise of Eau Rouge and Radion. Inestrosa all over the wheel tracks of Takuma Miyazono here. So Audi R18 versus Mazda 787B versus Jaguar XJR9 as well. Down this straight we go. Jura goes for a slightly defensive line, just moves over to the right hand side, back into the traditional racing line for the braking zone. Miyazono not able to launch an attack into Lake Coombe.
Yeah, it's also having a look at the gap for the lead there. Drummond getting much closer down that third sector. Again, that Nissan that he's piloting, trying to follow Jose Serrano. much quicker down the straight. Paul Euro second, the fastest lap of the race there in that Jaguar, so there's still pace there for sure. And the lap times are all super similar there, Tom. The top three drivers have all done a time within 300 of each other.
Yeah, exactly. So fastest lap, but it doesn't count for much because, of course, the gap's going to stay exactly the same. So Euro, despite the fact that he's pushing on like he's left the gas on, as Miyazono has got a 1 second penalty for colliding with another car. Now, that's going to be very detrimental to him because you've got Inestrosa, you've got Sasaki, all within a very close distance. So it's going to drop him down a minimum of 2 places here, and it might bring back of that group as well. Let's look at what happened then for Takuma Miyazono. So we're away for this one, then coming down in towards the first corner, side by side, and Miyazono just biffed it into the back of Kylian Drummond. That is what sent the Toyota wide at the start of this race and cost Sam Cardinal positions.
No, that was kind of weird.
I beg your pardon.
In there, but yeah. So I wondered how we got over there. I remember seeing that. Thinking, how did he get there? But that apparently is how that happened. So Paul Euro then. His job's then become slightly easy now that Miyazono's off the back of that little pack here. Let's see if that 787B now can get back in touch with his hybrids now at the drive. So here's the battle for the lead. Jose Serrano leading still in that Peugeot. Behind him, though, Kylian Drummond in that Group C car. Now, this is where that Nissan has the legs. Watch that gap as we come over Eau Rouge and Radio and up towards Les Combes. The life point stands on your screen now. Unsurprisingly, Jose Serrano would increase his lead if the race were to finish as it is now. But still 2 and a bit laps left as we're on board with Drummond. Look at this in the tow again, over 300 kph, almost driving up to the back like he's standing still there. He's just trying to show his nose, but from that far back, that's a different postcode. I'm not sure that's going to happen.
No, exactly. If he was a half a second closer or so, you'd know he would be very much within striking distance going in towards that chicane. But as you say, just a bit too far away at this point. So lap 6 out of 8 we're on. Pretty steady at the front end of this race. Serrano and Drummond, that gap sort of ebbing and flowing, but not really coming down to a point where Drummond is able to launch a move. And you can see coming down through this technical second part of the circuit here, that's where the newer car, the car that's Jose Serrano, the 918 that he's piloting, is going to be at an advantage relative to the Nissan that Kylian Drummond is driving.
That's a good middle sector though by Drummond. This is where Serrano's been sort of gapping him over the last couple of laps. Let's see what it's like through the chicane here and through the stablos, because that's where Serrano needs to build the gap. Okay, he's vulnerable on the straight. So here we are, out of the right-hander. You see the drive of the Peugeot out of there, great acceleration, but now he's got to try and contend with 700 horsepower of Nissan Group C goodness. So up towards the bus stop here. Is this corner flat for Drummond? It must be in this thing at the speed.
Let's have a listen.
Oh, easy. But look at this now. Really close to Serrano. Will he go for moving to the bus stop? No, but you have to think, Tom, he's thinking about something maybe the end of into Les Combes.
Feels like a bit of a dress rehearsal, doesn't it? Serrano was slightly deep in the middle part there of the bus stop chicane, but due to the nature of that corner, you can sort of gather up that mistake, and it doesn't really cost him too much time. Subsequently, he has a massive boost coming out of the final turn, going down in towards the first corner. Run down in towards Eau Rouge and Radion. It's just, again, ebbing and flowing. He's a little bit closer, a couple of cents of a second to the better. Last time around, in terms of the lap times, literally a tenth of a second separating Jose Serrano and Kylian Drummond. Paul Ura's challenge looks to have come to a bit of a halt, unfortunately. He was in the 203s last time, so whether that's a mistake or whether that car is just chewing through its tyres a bit more remains to be seen. But either way, Ura not quite close enough. Someone who is closing, though, is Kylian Drummond. He pulls alongside Jose Serrano as we come towards the braking zone. That's as close as it's been for now for Kylian Drummond. That's his best opportunity yet to challenge for the race lead. Maybe that is the dress rehearsal that we are seeing from the Frenchman as we get ready to go into the final lap and a half of this race.
And you couldn't have cars, could you? A Peugeot diesel versus a Group C Nissan. Meanwhile, here is Sasaki in the 919 Evo going almost into the back of Inestrosa. Dive up the inside there. Very opportunistic. I don't think he meant to go for that, to be honest, but he saw himself going up the inside. That was that. So there is Sasaki in the 919.
It's a rare sight, then, actually seeing two cars from pretty much the same era actually fighting with one another in this race. Fantastic job that Sasaki has done to get himself into fourth position. Third place would be even better, though. More points on offer. Just another reminder for you, 12 points is the maximum for the race lead, all the way down to 1 point, of course, and double the points for the grand final. Nose to tail we are, though, still from third all the way down to sixth place at the moment, with Miyazono bookending this one in the Mazda 787B.
So I'm keeping one eye on the gap between Serrano and Drummond here, because that's going to be super important coming on to the last lap. Keep an eye, though, also on this fight. Ura heading this train. Miyazono has managed to climb his way onto the back of the train after that penalty, so he's not out of it yet. We've got 4 places up for grabs in this last lap of the bit. In goes to the inside. Sasaki to defend from Innestroza. He's going to try a long way around. Is he going to make it sick? He's still just about got a nose there. Innestroza making that work. Now it's a drag race down the source. Sasaki's going to win that one. And on to the final lap of the race. Is Drummond close enough to Serrano for a move? Oh, on the inside goes Sasaki.
Can he make it stick into La Source? He's got the move, he's got the place, he's got track position, he's through and into 3rd position, but will that cost him drive on the exit? Will leave him vulnerable as we come down the hill and head in towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the final time. So Sasaki through into the podium places for the first time in this race, but now Paul Ura is coming under threat here from Angel Innestroza, and now he's attacking Sakuma Sasaki, Innestroza as well. We're nearly 3 abreast, we are 3 abreast. Miyazono's in the middle and coming through in the 787B, gets 2 places in the space of 1 straight as we head in towards Lake Coon for the final time. Ura's in 3rd, Miyazono's up through and into 2nd. Innestroza now, the driver who's gone from attacking to defending to losing places, as Sasaki's on his inside through the right-hander, and now Innestroza is down to 6th.
And look who's back in the mirrors. Akira Miyazono in that orange and green liveried Mazda 787B, climbing his way back up the positions after that penalty earlier on. And now Paul Ura knows he's going to have a challenge on his hands to keep that 3rd place to the end of the lap. And then Miyazono crowding Sasaki there to the edge of the circuit. A bit late that move, but you're seeing the difference in acceleration here. That 787B cannot contend with the hybrid power of the 919 Evo and the Audi, but only half a lap to go. Maybe they keep it. Look how close Drummond is now.
Yeah, these drivers know that these points are absolutely crucial at the early stage of the weekend here for the championship. So Drummond wants to try and take points out of Serrano. Ura needs to get 3rd place to try and hold on to as much of a lead as he possibly can at the top of the table. On board we ride there with Kylian Drummond. 1 more opportunity left to challenge for the race lead, and he's just too far away from Jose Serrano. We're coming towards the braking zone at this point, and I don't think, unless he gets for a Dandare move on the brakes, Drummond looking to the inside. The door gets shut though by Jose Serrano, who blocks the line and holds firm as we come into the final corner. Jose Serrano wins race 1 of the Nations Cup here at Spa-Francorchamps from Kylian Drummond, and Miyazono is through on Paul Ura for 3rd place and a drag to the line. The 787B gets a podium here in Belgium ahead of Ura Sasaki and Angel Innestroza. A fantastic race there with all different types of machinery, and that is a brilliant way to start off proceedings here in the Nations Cup for the World Finals.
I thought for a second Drummond was going to get that done. That was a huge...
The World Series World Finals about to get underway, and the drivers then lining up on the grid for this one. Let's see how it is going to work out. Then a standing start at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in these 90s Formula cars. Pole position, Jose Serrano, the winner from race 1. Alongside him on the front row is Kylian Drummond in his Gran Turismo F3 500B. Then Takuma Miyazono heading the 2nd row of the grid with Paul Ura for company, chasing down Serrano's championship lead. Sasaki in P5 on the grid with Angel Innestroza, 6th position for the Chilean, made some good progress from where he qualified in the first race. Gallo lines up P7, and he has got Kai de Bruyne for company alongside. Samuel Cardinal started from the front row, finished P9 in race 1. Adriano Kraz-e completes the top 10 for Brazil. Then it's Guy Barber in 11th position, and alongside him should have been Thomas Laboutelet. Anyway, all eyes on the 5 red lights then. Who will be the king in Canada as we get the 2nd race underway here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve? Lights are out and we are racing. Jose Serrano leads them down towards the first corner, but keep an eye out for Kylian Drummond. He's side by side, and Miyazono is in there as well. Drummond is way off onto the car park. As we go into the first corner, he goes down and drops behind Serrano for the race lead. So Serrano is in the lead now. Miyazono going into 2nd, and Drummond banging into the barrier. So he's already picked up a penalty for his dramas in the first couple of corners, and now he's gone down like a tabletop and into the wall.
There's a huge crash in the background as well. Oh wow, what that was chaos at the start. I mean, the upshot is Serrano is now presented with a gap out front. Miyazono 2nd, Sasaki 3rd, Ura 4th, but I think Ura at the start I don't know if he touched the grass or something, but he was way too fast, and T1 went flying into the back of Drumont, and who got just shoved over the grass. Got a penalty for going over the grass, I think, and that was it. So, yeah, unsurprisingly, that incident under investigation, man, what a start.
Well, we always talk about pressure, don't we, in these events, and so that proved to be the case there for Pol Jura. And has he succumbed to that pressure? 10 points deficit he has from Jose Serrano at the top of this championship table, and that could be set to take a further dent as it stands for now. Anyway, just to look at the tyres for the first time in this race, Serrano, Miyazono and Jura are the drivers who are on the soft compound. Jura, of course, desperate to make up ground, courtesy of the fact he's on that soft tyre and needs to be in the top 3 positions. But already you can see the gap between themselves and Takuma Miyazono as he goes through for 3rd place down at turn 1. Should be nice and easy there for Pol Jura with the extra grip under braking and in the mid-phase. Anyway, come back to that in a few moments. Let's have a look at what happened. Keep an eye out for Pol Jura there in 4th place. He's going to go careering into the back of Miyazono and Drumont.
He just didn't brake. Not quite sure what happened there. Got unsighted, but I mean, that's a very clear, just shunned off the field. And Drumont there had no choice but to go over the grass. So real shame there for the Frenchman. That's after a very strong race in race 1. Sees himself in P9 now.
Yeah, disappointing there for Kylian Drumont, not through any fault of his own, I might like to add there as well. Meanwhile, sharp end of this one, that's the joy for Jose Serrano, who's just been able to keep his nerve calm and keep his power to drive for now. He's up into the lead of this one with a second or so's advantage over Takuma Miyazono. Miyazono just sort of flirting on the edge of that slipstreaming range in this race, but certainly not close enough to launch an attack at this point. And just to remind you, of course, there are 2 tyre compounds in this one. They must use each tyre compound at least once in this race. So we'll see how that one is going to work out. It's a 17-lapper. It's a fairly long race duration, so you want to try and extend those soft tyres for as much as you possibly can, but it's finding that balancing point, isn't it? It's being on those soft tyres for as long as you get the performance out of them, but not too long so that they go off a cliff and then you end up losing time.
Yeah, it's all a lot of strategy involved in that part of the racing here, but Serrano just eked his own of a replay on board. Kylian Drumont trying to come back through the field up the inside of Guy Barbara there, big lunge, going far off the circuit and then back down to P9. So some frustration there for sure for Kylian Drumont. I mean, you can't blame him really, can you? No fault of his own, he's pretty much out of the race, but anything can happen. 1.7 seconds is the gap at the front for the 2023 Nations Cup champion, part of Team Spain. Of course, that format back there being chased for the double champion and reigning champion, Takuma Miyazono.
Still no word on the investigation for Pol Jura down at the first corner. There we go. I say that right on cue. 3-second penalty for colliding with another car. No surprise there at all for Jura. Right, now that's going to really compromise his race because not only is he on the soft tyre, he's also going to be losing time, losing places as well. It's going to put him right out of sequence.
Well, we've seen that from Jura in the past. Pressure does get to him a little bit. He does crack a little bit, and that's a grand example. Look at that, slowing down there, serving the penalties. Sasaki through, Gallo through, will Kraz-e get through as well there? No, just about, but still not ideal for the Spanish driver.
Yeah, now trying to attack and retaliate against Valerio Gallo. Down the start-finish straight we go. Jura has the inside line and gets the move done quite easily into turn 1. Kraz-e's there ready to try and pick up the pieces as well. He's also on the soft compound of tyre. He tried to make some ground from where he started. He's made up 4 places from 10th on the grid there, Kraz-e. He just needs to do something there, does the Brazilian driver, as we ride on board with him now, because being mired in the pack there, you might as well throw something different at it and try and make some ground whilst the field is all concertinaed up. Through the middle part of the first lap, first sector we go. As Drumont also picks up another penalty there, I can just see, for his troubles. Presumably that's for track limits, because we haven't seen anything otherwise, but it's just going from bad to worse for the Frenchman.
Yes, on board there with Adriano Kraz-e, Brazilian driver. Never really shone as bright as he could have done, I think, in this series so far, but himself and Gallo admittedly fans of these kinds of cars. He's difficult downforce style. We have to be very careful. A lot of driver skill needed to extract the maximum out of these machines, and both Gallo and Kraz-e moving forward strongly, and Pol Jura trying to get back into the swing of things after his penalty. Sasaki in front there, just checking the mirrors as Pol Jura comes from rocketing up behind him here. What a sight that is, breaking down. She came behind. Gallo looking to try and defend from Kraz-e, does to just about, but those two go side by side there, and they're ahead. Pol Jura, now there you go. It looks easy, doesn't it? That tyre advantage really strong here.
Nicely done there for Pol Jura, makes the move clinically and decisively, exactly what he needed to do, but I think third is probably going to be the best that the Spaniard can hope for here. And you have to consider the fact that the drivers behind are on the medium tyres, Sasaki and Gallo. They're still very much within touching distance, so if you reverse that tyre compound, and we think we're towards the end of the race. Of course, that's going to leave Europe quite vulnerable now as well, isn't it, compared to the medium shod runners who will then subsequently be on the soft compound of tyre at this one.
Now, Serrano right now in a different league. 3 seconds down the gap to Miyazona. His last lap time was 7/10 faster than anyone in the field. Ridiculous pace from Jose Serrano, just not leaving anything to chance. A reminder of the points awarded for position here. Of course, for Serrano, another 12 points will put him very nicely one step closer to that 2025 crown. But still early in this race here, a long way to go. Pit stops to be made as well. Strategies to unfold for the playbook.
Certainly is. Down the back straight we go, in towards the chicane once more. Kraz-e again pulls under the wheel tracks there of Valerio Gallo, not quite close enough to launch a move. Just a point to mention as well, by the way, the pit entry is right at the end of this long back straight. It's a fairly quick pit entry, and we saw the race of the eSport team competition earlier on as Kraz-e goes for the outside line here on Valerio Gallo. Gallo just about covers him off in towards turn 2, but Kraz-e there, you think he'd have a bit more grip under braking, but has to turn tighter, then gets a bit of wheel spin and loses time out of the second corner. But just finishing off that point about the pit entry, very fast into there. Drivers are going to be careful to not cut the lines too much on the way in, because they will pick up a 3-second penalty if they do.
Yeah, I mean, we, again, something that I practiced better on is how fast can you box these cars? Very fast is the answer. And it is a very narrow margin to get through it at that speed. So, on board with Valerio Gallo then in this F3500. 800 horsepower sitting behind us, a little bit intimidating, so nice and easy in that lap, but it's just spinning the wheels in third gear. That's how much power these things have towards the hairpin now. Late down the ranks, machine gun down through the gears into second for traction on exit. Try and get a nice as clean exit as possible, and then set yourself up for a sixth opportunity with Sasaki in front, which Gallo is doing. Gallo moving forward now. Sasaki starting to falter a bit on that medium tyre.
Not the first time that we've seen this F3500B in the Gran Turismo World Series. We had it, of course, earlier on this season, and also last season as well, for that matter. On that occasion, it had the V8 engine in it. This V10, a little bit more torque, a little bit more power, and it's just that bit trickier to drive on the limit. That's where you're seeing drivers getting wheel spin and just sliding the car a little bit more. You can see Gallo there parking his machine on the apex of the corner. Takes a bit of a slower line through that first turn, and then subsequently slows up through turn 2. But he can afford to do that. You don't have to send it around the outside. He can't really get it for Adriano Kraz-e there. But Gallo now just looking a bit more vulnerable than he was, and Kraz-e again seeking the opportunity to pounce into the middle sector to damn dare move on the inside. And Kraz-e just decides that discretion is the better part of valour. But you sense it's a case of when and not if for the Brazilian to try and attack against the Italian. He's been flirting with the idea over the last couple of laps or so, and again he closes up onto the back of him as we come through in towards the hairpin bend.
Kraz-e is chewing up that Dunlop tyre right now. He's chewing up that soft compound. It's not going to last much longer at this speed. He needs to make these moves and get on with it. He spent too much time behind Gallo and Sasaki. A little bit of a love tap there on Gallo for good measure, which is probably going to set up him very nicely for a move on Sasaki. So Gallo now in the slipstream of Sasaki in front. Sasaki does try and go defensive 6 in the middle of the circuit, but not much he can really do about that as Gallo drives by using that slipstream up into fourth place. Kraz-e is going to try the move as well. Wow, caught him unaware there, and Kraz-e picking the pocket of Sasaki. Up into fifth place goes the Brazilian.
The driver's really aggressive over the curve there, and he properly slammed it over the sleeping policeman, didn't he, Adriano Kraz-e? Managed to make it stick quite nicely. So Sasaki down 2 places, Gallo through and into 4th position. So this is working out quite nicely here for Valerio Gallo. Jura, of course, he's in 3rd place, as we know, but he's still some 6 seconds off the back of Miyazona, and of course he's going to owe the medium compound of tyre at the end of this race, which is going to leave him vulnerable because Gallo will be on the soft compound of tyre. So you would imagine that Gallo is going to be a shoo-in for a podium if it all continues going his way. Sasaki with a big amount of wheel spin through the second chicane, just about manages to gather it all up okay, but costs him a bit of time. So maybe a bit of frustration creeping in there for the Japanese driver as we come through the second sector. You can see the car starting to move around here now, so maybe those medium tyres coming towards the end of their useful shelf life.
Well, it's just also how aggressive you are on the front. You can really burn through the tyres by just slipping them out of each corner. It's part of the challenge of driving this absolute monster, as Kraz-e now struggling to keep up with the unleashed Valerio Gallo, despite being on the faster compound of tyre. We'll check lap times as they come through to get an idea. But obviously splits. Paul Jura decided to come in. Does Kraz-e as well in the background. Just a blur flash in the background there. Wow. Yeah, so he's coming in now to get rid of that soft tyre. Gallo, this is a lap for him. He needs to get this right. It needs to be a strong lap for him. Same for Sasaki as well. But for Kraz-e, he's had his best tyre now, and really got to just try and see what he can do from here.
Yeah, damage limitation, isn't it, for Adriano Kraz-e? He tried to do something different. It's sort of half worked out for him. He'll gain a few more places compared to where he started this race, but I don't think it's going to be a challenge for the podium for the Brazilian driver. Watch him prove us wrong. Here is Paul Ura then coming out of the pit lane, careful of the white line on the exit there. Another place where you can pick up one of those 3-second penalties. So you've got 3 drivers now on the soft compound of Barbara, De Bruyne and Cardinal. Meanwhile, this is Kraz-e. Gallo and Sasaki are side by side in the foreground here, and look at this, Kraz-e's just going to lunge, a very late move on the brakes, clatters it over the curb on the inside, but gets it stopped, and just catches Sasaki very unawares, who has to take to the escape road, and well, you can see just how surprised the Japanese driver was.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the Japanese is for blimey, but I think that was it. Right there, here comes the Rhino, yep, diving into the pit lane there, huge speed to the pit entry, my word, but yeah, one opening stint from Jose Serrano. No one was close to his pace there at all, and that's what he needs. You know, he was saying he's feeling confident in himself, and you can see it in his driving. Just 0 mistakes, quietly aggressive, and just getting on with it. Relentless is the pace of Serrano, and if he keeps this up, it's going to be hard for anyone to catch him.
Yeah, 4 seconds near enough the advantage he had over to Kimi Miyazono prior to that pit stop. Subsequently 12 seconds over Valerio Gallo. Of course, Gallo's now in the pits. He's going to be on to the soft compound of tyres, so he'll be quicker than the top 2 in the closing stages of this race. But 12 seconds with, what, 7 laps to go. That's a meteoric amount of time for Gallo to close up. But, you know, if you see Serrano and Miyazono, if they start squabbling amongst one another, it's not out the realms of possibility, but it's a tall order for the Italian to start being involved in that battle for the victory.
We'll see. Gallo, he likes a chase, does Gallo. He likes to be the one trying to gain position in the last couple of laps, so we'll see if he can do that.
Gap there between Ura and Gallo, 2.7 seconds. That is a gap that will probably come down, and that's why we're saying about Gallo challenging for the race lead, because you can imagine it's a matter of when and not if you're going to see the Italian driver starting to fight and starting to challenge Ura. And if Ura hasn't got the grip underneath him on that medium compound of tyre, I don't think there's anything that he's going to be able to do to defend it.
I don't think so either, mate. I mean, the cars are so much faster on that soft tyre, especially in these first couple of laps. They're fresh, they're hot off the blankets, and they're just very, very grippy. So here's the life point standings. If it ends like this, Jose Serrano has one hand on that trophy. I'm telling you, he's getting close. Meanwhile, the midfield battle is getting a little bit spicy as Kylian Drummond tries to come back through the field after being shunted off at T1 by Paul Ura. And I'm trying to find a way by Angelo Esposa, newly crowned, of course, Manufacturers Series champion. Losing a place into Drummond. Yep, definitely on the inside goes Drummond. They're trying to go side by side. You really can't go too much away through there without anyone having a mistake. And up into 7th goes Kylian Drummond.
Yeah, lovely stuff there for Kylian Drummond. Jose Serrano, fastest lap for him is a 1:16.0. That's not quite the lap time he set last time around, because of course he's now on the medium compound of tyre, but he does hold that accolade so far in this race. The only other driver who's in the 1:16s on that last lap was Samuel Cardinal, who was a 16.6, and he's right down at the bottom of the order. So Kylian Drummond through this long right-hander. I drove this car and circuit combination yesterday. I have to say, I was really surprised at how brave you have to be to keep it fully planted through that right-hander. It looks quite easy watching it on screen here, but when you're in the cockpit, I mean, it's pretty hairy.
Yeah, that's twitchy, these cars. You know, they do have some aero, but not the amount we're used to in today's race cars. Still looking at Kylian Drummond. Now we're looking at the back of Adriano Kraz-e, the Brazilian driver in front. What's Drummond going to do here? Oh, from 10 years back. I mean, Kraz-e had to open the steering there to let that happen. That's also opened up to a fight there from Estroza behind. Drummond, I get the impression that it's sort of, well, you know what? If I want to get shunted off, then I'm going to just drive super aggressively. These places are mine, back up to 6th place. Good recovery so far from the Frenchman.
Yeah, I don't know what the French for sod it is, but he's certainly throwing it at it, isn't he? Here is Kylian Drummond. Through the final chicane we go, and across the timing line once again. Serrano is that still leads the way. Oh, big lunge and a big, massive moment for Inestrosa into the back of Adriano Kraz-e. He just misjudged his braking zone into the first corner. Manages to gather it up all okay, and not too much harm done there for the Chilean in the middle of all of that. But either way, a bit of desperation and a bit of a misjudgment for him there, and subsequently it's costing him, it's going to cost him a little bit of time here.
Meanwhile, Paul Ura, the gap coming down between himself and Valera, 6/10 the difference last lap. Gallo there getting closer and closer on that soft compound of tyres. So the ideal spot to be having a move is, of course, into the last chicane here. And that's all done by setting up his hairpin nicely. So on the brakes there, very, very close. What's the gap now down the straight? It's about 7/10 of a second, so he will be getting a little bit of a draft in, probably not enough to make a move. This will bring him right onto the back of Paul Ura's rear end.
Opportunity knocks here for Kylian Drumont as well. Sasaki's picked up a penalty. You can see that with the red dot flashing next to his name. 0.8 of a second, so that's easily enough for him to close up onto the back and possibly challenge for that 5th position. We come through the final chicane though, meanwhile, with Gallo. And again, he just closed it up. Last time around in terms of the lap times, actually a lot quicker for Valerio Gallo. 1:16.1 for him. Paul Ura a 1:17 flat. That's the difference in terms of the tyres, and that's how much it's cost Paul Ura in this race. That moment that he had, the penalty that he suffered from subsequently, and well, a chance of victory slipping through his fingers certainly, and possibly a podium going away for the Spanish driver. And with that under threat, and if Gallo is able to find his way through, Serrano, as Jimmy said, is going to be edging ever closer to that title. Paul Ura goes defensive then. Gallo looks to pull to the outside as we come under the bridge in towards the chicane. He goes to the outside line. That's brave as we come over the chicane. He manages to make it stick. Gallo throwing caution to the wind, and as he moves up into the podium places.
Yeah, I recognise that, Valerio Gallo. That's the 2021 champion Gallo move right there. That's how you do it. Round the outside. Ura being very respectful and giving him the room there to do so, but Gallo now hot on the heels of Takuma Miyazono. He's only got 4 laps left to do it though, so I'm unsure really if he has the time to get there, but if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Valerio. So lap time last time around, Serrano putting in strong lap times, that a high 16s. Here's a replay of that move then. Paul Ura goes defensive, Gallo goes round the outside there, just about runs the speed through. Ura gives him the room. Frugo, that's a lovely move there by Gallo. Moving the race so far for sure.
Yeah, well done there for Valerio Gallo. Exactly what he needed to do. Sasaki and Drumont there. We mentioned about it last time around because of the penalty that Sasaki had suffered. Both of these drivers are on the medium compound tyre. Kraz-e and Drumont are also under investigation. Kraz-e's down in 10th place, and we were singing his praises earlier on, so I wonder if he was the fault of that and caused the incident. He's also under investigation for an incident with Kai de Bruyne there as well, so we'll try and pick the bones out of that one once we get a replay. Drumont though, as we sit on board with the Frenchman, again you sense that it's a missed opportunity for him here today in terms of the Nations Cup. He's won the Manufacturers Cup, but again just seems to be slipping through his fingers at the most crucial moments. I mean, again, not his fault what happened at the start of this one, but just wrong place, wrong time, and misfortune really is falling into his hands.
Yeah, I mean, you can't control other people's application of the brake rubber, can you? It's unfortunate for him, but all you've got to do is get your head down and do the best you can with what you've got, and Drumont is doing that. Now stalking Sasaki, trying to get back up into the top 5. Not close enough to do it here, but again, edging ever closer to the pace. Very strong from Drumont right now. Actually, I think one of the fastest cars on track, so what could it be, mate?
Certainly it could. Let's have a look then at Kylian Drumont. Sasaki goes to the defensive line at the first corner. Holds the apex, holds the line into turn 2. De Bruyne picks up a 1-second penalty for a collision then, so he was deemed as the fault of that incident we saw with Adriano Kraz-e coming up on our screen a little bit earlier on. Through the chicane we go, and Drumont again just had to get out the throttle a little bit there as he sits behind the Japanese driver. We're loving the action on track here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and if you haven't downloaded the Spec 3 update for GT7, get yourself onto it because you'll be able to drive this and also the brand new Yas Marina circuit. Of course, Yas Marina Abu Dhabi will be the home of the first World Series event in 2026. Sasaki a bit deep into that chicane, cost him a bit of time, leaves Drumont again a bit closer. Wonder if he'll think about a lunge into the hairpin or maybe set something up on the exit.
Yeah, he's not interested in going for a move there. Look at that. Just going for that exit there, wide in and shallow out, and that's going to be a good way to try and get a run. The gap is only 0.3 of a second, so here's what the slipstream does. Sasaki just going over the grass. That won't help his defensive effort at all. Going defensive early. Drumont's going to be forced to go around the outside. He don't mind. He'll do that. Drumont trying the outside line. Very well defended by Sasaki. Is it though? They just both get through. Drumont up into 5th place. Look at the background. Ango in the Stroza. A much better run than both of them through there. Is also in contention. There's now 3 cars battling for 5th. And Stroza now right on the back of Sasaki.
Through into the right hander we go then. Stroza's ready to try and pounce. So Sasaki's lost 1 place, possibly set to lose another here to Angel Stroza. Out of turn 2 we go and down in towards the right left. And Drummond, well, made hay whilst the sun shone there, exactly what he needed to do. Gallo, meanwhile, brought the gap down to Miyazono to 5.4 seconds as Inestrosa has a look to the inside. The door's not quite ajar enough for him to be able to walk through at the moment, but the Chilean really driving like a man possessed. Sasaki again clipping the grass. Not the first time we've seen that. Cost him drive, cost him a possibility of a position here as well, as Inestrosa drives around the outside even before they've made it fully into the braking zone and goes through to 6th.
Yeah, I mean, Drummond must be worried about the Inestrosa charge as well, but they're still fighting. Sasaki and Inestrosa having to go inside and defend is Angel. Just about keeping that pace for now, but this isn't the pace you want to be here. You're now giving the draft to the car behind. Will we see a retaliation from Sasaki? On board we go then, up for the gears, 330 kph maximum speeds. We go down to 340 as we hit the anchors there, but not close enough to make a move with Inestrosa. I think maybe we've seen Sasaki struggling these last 2 laps. I think we're going to see him maybe drop off the back now.
Yeah, and what was it? You know, 2 corners, those two battling amongst one another, and that's allowed Drummond a second or so's advantage. It sort of moves him out of the meaningful slipstreaming range. Meanwhile, we've hardly mentioned him. It's like he's been on a Sunday drive to the shops. Jose Serrano has had an absolute blinder for this one. He started, of course, at the very head of the field, courtesy of winning the first race. And at the moment, it looks like he's going to make it 2 wins from 2 as he comes through the middle sector on the final lap. 5.1 seconds is the advantage he now holds over Takuma Miyazono, and this has been an absolute display of excellence from the Spaniard.
Yeah, I mean, this is the drive of a champion. This is a guy who knows how to win races, who has won this series before, and it's really hard to fault anything he's done right now as he comes to finish the race here, undoubtedly in the lead.
What a great job from Jose Serrano. Inestrosa's dropped down to 10th place, by the way. They're under investigation, Sasaki and Inestrosa, for that collision. Serrano, though, out of the final turn, he's going to win race 2 of the Nations Cup here for the Gran Turismo World Finals. 2 wins from 2 races for the Spaniard. Takuma Miyazono comes across the line in second, and Valerio Gallo will complete the podium. A fantastic drive from the Italian. Moves his way up from 7th on the grid to finish on the podium here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, ahead of Paul Ura and Kylian Drummond, who also recovered magnificently well after the misfortune he suffered on the opening lap. Sasaki in 6th place ahead of Guy Barbara, but that remains to be seen of whether Sasaki will hold that 6th place, because we saw Inestrosa going tumbling down the order on the final lap of racing, and we're not quite sure what happened. We'll have to try and pick the bones out of it, but a perfect start to life for Takuma, Jose. Nations Cup World Champion, and the man who has won 2 races so far here today is starting on pole position. Jose Serrano, the Spaniard, 15 points the advantage he has with 24 left on the table. Can he convert it into a 2nd Nations Cup World title? Takuma Miyazono, the outgoing champion, potentially lines up on the front row of the grid, with Valerio Gallo heading the 2nd row and Paul Ura for company alongside, who's been somewhat in the wars so far today. Kylian Drummond is in 5th position, the Frenchman, and he's joined by Takuma Sasaki in P6. Next up on the grid is Guy Barbara, the Australian, who made some good progress from where he started in that 2nd race. He's got Adriano Kraz-e for company. Then it's Kai de Bruin lining up in 9th position, who's had a bit of a dog's day at the office so far. Angel Inestrosa completes it with P10, and the grid is rounded out by Samuel Cardinal, the Canadian driver, in 11th place. Now, of course, we have 3 different compounds of tyre, and the top 4 starting on the softs, the rest are on mediums and hards.
Yeah, I mean, expected really. We tend to see the drivers hurry up the grid, go on those soft tyres and try and break away, but the last race here of 2025, all to play for here in the Nations Cup. Jose Serrano leading the field. He'll love that. We said before, he likes leading from the front. He's proved that already today in 2 races. What must be going through his head right now? Try and keep it calm, Jose.
Absolutely, a lot of pressure on that young man's shoulders. Takuma Miyazono there in the middle of your picture as well. He would love to retain that crown, but it's going to be a fairly tall ask for the Spaniard, for the Japanese driver. Let's wait and see with the Spaniard, of course, lining this one up on pole position. Valerio Gallo's been on great form so far this weekend as well. Let's see how the Italian can turn things around. The former Nations Cup champion himself. For one final time in 2025, we go racing as the grand final for the Nations Cup is underway. Jose Serrano leads them across the line with Miezono, Gallo and Paul Ura for company. Into the braking zone, we see Miezono lunging his way up the inside of Serrano. A bit too late though, and not quite enough for him to attack and take the position away, with Gallo looking for a move on the inside but not quite able to make it as well. So Serrano it is that leads from Miezono, from Gallo as we come through the first part of the opening lap.
The car staked down through the Grand Prix version of the circuit here. Everyone just, I think, figuring out what they want to do, where they are, what their competitors' strategies are at the moment, of course. Through the hairpin at the bottom and now flat out back up the hill through the Michael Schumacher S. Easily flat in these X2019 machines, even with the dirty air here, as you then get through the last part of this GP circuit. This feels like child's play in comparison to what's coming next. The Nordschleife, the Northern Loop, where, well, really, where you become a proper driver.
Absolutely, a lot of time for things to change in this race. We're coming through onto the Nordschleife. It's a very different circuit compared to this Grand Prix layout, Jimmy, as we mentioned earlier on. It's so one line through there, one at a time. You can't really overtake, so you still have to get it done in this part of the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, you can overtake. There are places to do it, but the track narrows up considerably as you come onto this part of the track you can see now. And, of course, the curves extremely high here. These things are glued to the ground. Touch the curb at speed, this thing's super easy just to eject yourself into the wall there. 300 kph for braking through the section of Hassan back here. See Ura there flirting with the curb on the right-hand side. Just the speed from here is ridiculous, it really is. But this is where one of the mild overtaking opportunities is here. She's come up towards Food Place, getting the draft. Miezono giving the draft to Gallo, giving the draft to Ura. Serrano already 1.1 seconds on the road. Look at that! Amazing start from Jose.
Yeah, brilliant. Exactly what he was expecting to do there. Miezono now coming under pressure here from Valerio Gallo. He's got the inside line as we come through the left hand. And Miezono just deciding not to fight that one too much at this opening stage of the race.
He actually indicated to get out of the way there. So I think maybe sensing the pace of Gallo or just saying, I don't want to fight too much. Speaking of fighting, Paul Ura don't care. He's up into third place. Big dive from the Spaniard there. Not willing to give up on this title just yet. But Gallo now has been charged with leading or trying to get into the back of Serrano. It's come through the foxhole now, up the top here, through into now fourth, really technical part of the circuit here. Really easy to spin the rear wheels in this thing, and on that soft tyre, they're going to try and make this tyre last a couple of laps. They can't afford to spin the wheel, to scrub the front tyres. It's all about precision and making sure you keep those tyres out.
And that's the thing, is where you've got to be very careful about how you play this strategy. If you go for an aggressive one and you decide to go an extra lap, I mean, that's different if you're competing at somewhere like Spa or the circuit you're building that we've seen here tonight already. But here at the Nürburgring, of course, it's a very big circuit. You can't really afford to take that gamble. You've got to be a bit more planned.
No, if you do have a mistake here, you go on the grass, there is no runoff. You just go straight into that barrier, and it's never a small crash at the Nürburgring. So these guys will have that in the head, come down to the midpoint of the circuit, down towards the town of Adenau. You can just see it there in the background.
Lovely bit of currywurst on the right-hand side that you can get in a restaurant.
No, I don't. you learn to avoid that after a while. But up through the hill now towards Bergwerk, where Niki Lauda had his huge crash a long time ago now. But this is another spot where you can kind of use the toe up the hill and try and pull past someone. Serrano still edging that gap, 1.4 seconds now. If you stay on board with Miezono, completely flat up here. You wouldn't feel like it, given the elevation, the bumps, the way the car turns here. But the aero of this car forces it into the ground, keeps that tyre contacting the road, and keeps it quick up here. Nearly 200 mile an hour up here. It's come towards the mid curve. Is it flat out in these cars? Easily, oh my word, that's fast.
Look at Ura, he is all over the back of Valerio Gallo like a bad rash here, is he? Just trying to find his way through, but there's not really a gap to do so at the moment. That's the problem with this part of the circuit. As Jimmy said, it narrows up so much, and unless you're going to send it through on the inside, you can cost yourself more time, cost yourself a position, and maybe even pick up a penalty for your troubles as well. Through the carousel we go. You can see wider there for Ura. It's going to cost him a bit of drive on the exit of that corner, and might leave him vulnerable to attack here from Takuma Miezono.
Yeah, really easy to sort of fall out the carousel there, and you lose a lot of time when that happens. Up the Hoag, now the highest point of the circuit, and now back downhill. But I always say it when we we commentate here or watch one of these races, this last third of the track is probably the greatest stretch of racetrack in the world. The flow is just ridiculous. And in these cars, with all that aero, the corners come up sooner than you can deal with it. It's really a test of skill to get through here in these. And Gallo, you can see, he likes it. The gap down to 8/10 of a second there. And that's what that looks like. So what Gallo's trying to do here is get into slipstream range before we get to... Oh, mistake from Serrano.
Yeah,
Big oven. So Gallo's... Oh, he gets into the grass. He's trying to avoid him. He's off too. Oh, and Joran Gallo spins. Oh, this is what I was talking about. You get onto the grass here. See Mick Hazal there reacting to that head in his hands. Oh, what a shame for Valerio Gallo, just trying to avoid the accident up ahead. But you can't just send it into the grass. This car, the grip goes away there.
Yeah, we need to see another replay of that, don't we, really, and pick the bones of it from a different angle. But the upshot is now, Paul Ura is his lead, Serrano's into second, Miyazono's into third, so we've gone from a four-way fight down to a three-way fight, and Gallo, the big loser in all of that, though, just maybe a little bit too impatient, courtesy of the mistake that we saw being made there from Jose Serrano. The upshot is now that these three drivers, as they come onto the Dossier Hill for the first time, are all nose-to-tail with one another. Ura, the driver who, of course, is got a hole being made in the air in front of him, with Jose Serrano now alongside as we go side by side with each other. Serrano back through and into the lead once again. Takuma Miyazono in third place, looking ready to try and pounce there as well. What it has done with Kylian Drumont, etc., has brought them just a little bit closer, and I wonder if later on that might prove to be a bit of a difficult time for those drivers, because of course they've just lost a bit of time that they would have otherwise have had in their pocket towards the end of this first lap.
Yeah, a bit of fuel saving there, I think, from Europe. And Miyazono, now let's do the replay. Let's try and find out what happened here. So Serrano, it's looking a bit sketchy. Just touched the grass on the way in, goes into the ice curve. He can't get sideways. So here comes Gallo. He tries to go around the outside. The road falls away here as he goes onto the grass. Not the best angle there, but you can just see a bit of panic there from Serrano. That's the first crack in the armour there, I think. And here's Gallo trying to go around outside, and he knows straight away it's over. Look at that big sigh. What a shame for Valerio.
I don't know what the Italian is for old bother, but I can imagine he was saying a few of those words. Disappointment there for Valerio Gallo. Really, really good forward, good great run from the Italian up until this point. But it's not over yet. Still plenty of time left in this race for the complexion of it to change. There is Takuma Miyazono, top left of your picture. Paul Ura in the bottom left of your picture. And Miyazono, again, just playing the patient game then here. Serrano's now got all the hard work to do all over again here, Jimmy, hasn't he? He had 1.5 seconds at one point of the first lap in his pocket. Sort of came down a little bit with Valerio Gallo now closing down, but he's not in as comfortable position as he could otherwise have been. No, I mean, as I said, maybe the pressure, maybe he's feeling it now. This is a circuit where in such high concentration you can really find yourself making mistakes. So here's a clear review of what happened. Here's Gallo. So see Serrano in front, we go to the outside, just doesn't anticipate the corner coming up, and then just car gets away from him. I mean, these Red Bull X2019s have a lot of grip until you get into the grass, and they have nothing. Yeah, that's the problem, is they are on a knife edge, aren't they? And that's the thing with the cars, that they're very aerodynamic dependent. So as soon as you get out of that sort of aero range, you get onto the grass, you upset the balance. If you have a snap of oversteer, it's very hard to save it, because when they're on the limit of adhesion like these cars are, around corners such as this, you can turn them around with your little finger, basically, because there's just nothing to them. And when you get incidents like we saw there with Serrano and Gallo, it's a lot easier to do it than you might happen to imagine. The upshot is now Valerio Gallo's got a hell of a work to do. He's 1.3 seconds off the back of Guy Barbara in sixth position. And you can see in terms of the soft tyre as well, of course, it's used a lot of the useful shelf life. So the soft tyre runners are going to be coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. And let's see how this one is going to work out then. Kylian Drumont watching 7.4 seconds off the back of them, so it's okay for these top three at the moment. Nothing really for them to worry about. It's not like the medium shock runners are sort of bearing down on them for now. It's nothing too concerning at this stage.
There's a downside for leading Serrano there, as she's more fuel than anybody else, and that will affect his pit stop time. So if they all boxed as they were now, he would come out behind both of these guys. So He's chosen to go strong, to lead for now, but I just wonder if that for this race is going to be ideal for him. But to be honest, Serrano doesn't need to win this race. It would be nice for him to win it, of course, and have a Grand Slam here. I don't think we've had a Grand Slam since Mick Hazal a long time ago.
Would it be 2019, something like that?
It's been a long time, so If he can do that here, that would be ridiculous. But ultimately, he doesn't need to win this race to walk away with Nations Cup champions.
Fans watching on here in Fukuoka, what a fantastic venue this has been for our World Finals. You see Takuma Miyazono there, big amount of understeer through that right-hander, and it's just cost him a few tenths of a second or so. He's starting to drop back, not out of the range of those top two, but they're now beginning to push on a little bit more. Half a second or so, 1.1 seconds it was up to, and is now up to for Takuma Miyazono. So why is he losing touch here between Jose Serrano and Paul Ura? Are they just pushing on a bit more?
He just made a mistake. He made quite a big mistake there coming out of Anglao, and because he did that, he lost the slipstream, and the draft is worth a lot around here. So Ura currently enjoying the benefit of being close to back of Serrano, basically like a free, it feels like a free 50 horsepower when you're in the draft. It really is a massive effect, especially in these cars that are so aero dependent. And there is Miyazono in the background, 1.2 seconds the gap now. And this is where Serrano was weak last time. He was weak through this last part of the lap. And this Paul Ura thinking about maybe making the move here, but we've seen Paul try and overtake some people, and Serrano wide, he misses the chicane. Did he let Ura through there to try and maybe conserve some fuel? They're still going side by side, so I'm not sure if he went wide or that was intentional.
I wonder, as you say, if it is just a case of trying to save fuel. They're going to be coming in at the end of this lap. It's allowed Miyazono right back into the picture, though. I mean, what is he, 1.1 seconds off the back of them a few corners ago, and now he's right on the tail of Jose Serrano then here. So now is Ura going to use this as the impetus? Because look at the advantage he's already building up, 0.7 of a second at this mid part of the circuit. Ura and Serrano under investigation, so they have a collision that we sort of just caught the tail end of going through the carousel then here.
I was saying before, Ura's hit the back of the people before. Here we go. So on board with Paul Ura into the carousel. That was it.
Serrano's deep out, and there was a bit of contact there, but Serrano had already made the mistake at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's sorted itself out.
Yeah, Ura there just trying to keep his calm and focus, really, to be honest. Now in the lead of this race and trying to extend the advantage over Serrano. I suppose the one advantage here for Paul Ura, maybe he can afford to do it a bit more, because Serrano, of course, has expended that bit more fuel. He's got a few litres fewer in the tank compared to Ura, and I wonder if that might come back to bite Serrano a bit later on.
Yeah, but the point is, Ura trying to spread that gap here is the worst decision, because now look at it's for nothing, because now they're in the draft and he's just used more fuel for nothing. So Miyazono looking the best out of the leading three fuel-wise at the moment. We expect to see them boxing in this lap. Serrano there just driving back through in a straight line, using that slipstream, using that toe. Here comes Miyazono. He might try and get both of them here for a laugh. You can see just the gaps there in the back. What a shot that is all the way down the Donja-Ho. Huge straight here. A bit of a time to relax for the drivers, but not for these guys. They're door banging, or whatever constitutes as a door on this thing, down the straight. And Miyazono up into second place, but they're all going to be piloted into the pits here, Tom. But the question is, onto what tyre?
Well, that's the thing. Surely they're all going to have to follow one another in terms of the strategy, going on to what you would imagine would be the hard tyre or the medium tyre. Yeah, they're all going for the mediums, aren't they, surely, at this mid-stage of the race, and then they'll run the hard and take the pain right at the very end. The idea being that they can build up as much of a gap as they can over the rest of the field in the first two phases of it. See how it all works out then. So Serrano and Miyazono, and Serrano's actually decided to be the outlier of that. He's gone for the hard tyre in the middle stint of this one. So it depends now for him what he can do on this hard tyre. What he needs to do, really, is keep in touch with Miyazono and Ura, because he's going to be on a slower competitive tyre. If he can limit the damage as much as possible in this middle phase of the race, and keep within distance, then he'll be in a great position to attack in the closing stages of it.
So Serrano has gone to the hard tyre, but he opted not to take any fuel there, whereas Miyazono and Ura both took a good chunk of fuel, so they can push a little bit harder. There's a gap, but Serrano, of course, in that hard tyre is it's about 10 seconds a lap slower than the soft tyre, about 6 or so slower than the medium. So really interesting. What else I found interesting as well, I didn't realise this until now, basically, is that when you select your tyre you go onto, it becomes visible clear. And both Miyazono and Serrano wait until the last possible second to show their tyre to each other, because they're like, right, we're in a fight here, and they both went separate ways. So really interesting, that to me.
You cannot believe the amount of mental arithmetic that's going on for these drivers in the race. They are literally thinking at 100 miles an hour whilst they're doing a couple of 100 miles an hour.
Well, this is the thing about sim racing, right? And I think where maybe these guys don't get their credit is they're not only drivers, they're also strategists. their own engineer as well. They're checking things like weather. They're doing everything in the car, whilst, as you said, just wrangling this thing around, in my opinion, one of the most challenging circuits in the world.
So they're their own performance coaches as well, give themselves a little rub down after the race.
Well, I mean, what they do in the hotel room is completely up to their top. We won't cry.
That's 3 out of 7 we're on then. Kilian Drumont it is now that leads the race. You can see the top 4 runners are yet to pit at this stage of the race. So Drumont, Sasaki, Barbara and Kraz-e, they're all out of position. So Serrano, he's your effective race leader at this point. He's made the pit stop and he's in a nice bit of clear air. 20 seconds he's got over Adriano Kraz-e. That's working out quite nicely for him there so far. 5.5 seconds though is the gap between himself and Takuma Miyazono. Now, if we were on a traditional circuit that was about 5, 6, 7 kilometres long, that's not a gap that could come down over the course of a couple of laps. Here, it's going to come down in the space of probably about half a lap or so, given the length of this circuit. And, well, Takuma Miyazono, sitting there in 6th position, will be right on the gearbox of Jose Serrano, I'm sure, before too long. And, of course, just to remind you, Serrano did not take any fuel in this first pit stop of the race. On board we ride, meanwhile, with Takuma Sasaki. So he and Drumont are up 4 places from where they started. They're on the medium tyre, so presumably they'll be coming in at the end of this lap and changing over to either the hard or the soft. But they're involved in a battle for position, really. It's not a battle for the podium positions at the moment, although, of course, I know it is, but like relative to everybody else, once the pit stops all work out. You can see Sasaki just threading the eye of a needle as we come through in towards this right-hander. It's such a fast and frightening part of the circuit. I mean, you can say that about pretty much every corner on the North Slifer, couldn't you, really?
It really is one of the 7 wonders of the racing world here. Then we go back down towards, and now Drumont now leading this race. He led this racing last year at a similar sort of point as well. Alternative strategy though. We know Kilian's good round here. Kilian's good in his X2019s as well. Sasaki doing very well to hold on there. Look who's in the background. Guy Barbara, this guy, man. He's always there, isn't he? He's always around. Just never quite manages to break through, but he is catching this, so he 2 seconds behind.
It can't be discredited how hard Guy Barbara's had to work just to get qualified for the Gran Turismo World Series in 2025. And of course, we've had the same 12 drivers over the course of all of our events so far this season. So a credit to him. And unfortunately for Guy, the results just haven't really fallen in his favour for one reason or another. Some is fault, some is not his fault. And we do have it's not the last we've seen of him in the GT World Series. He sits there in 3rd position at the moment. Once the pit stops all work out, he'll be dropping down the order a little bit. But for now, we can just sit there and enjoy watching what is unfolding in front of him. This battle for the race lead between Kilian Drumont and Takuma Sasaki as they head their way in towards the carousel. This is where we saw the drama between Serrano and Ura a few laps ago. On board we ride here with Takuma Sasaki then. This is the view he's got in front of him of Kilian Drumont. Just listen to the throttle as we're coming through this part of the circuit. Look how smooth he has to be in terms of the inputs.
He had a couple of goes of that though there. And this, what you maybe don't see about this part of the course on your screen there is just how cambered it is. It's so important to put the car in the right part of the road. Otherwise, your car almost magically understeers. It's something that comes with experience for sure. These guys have that in space. Drumont there, I think, maybe it's a little bit quicker for this part of the circuit as we come into Bridgestone here, up towards the ice curve. Also, because in the wet, the thing is lethal through here. You can use the curve on the right a little bit, but not too much more, as Serrano found out. Now we come up to Fran's car, and in a normal car, this is a jump, but these things, they are glued to the forward downforce. Small lift now to come up to the Baloff S, on the scariest part of the circuit. The road just falls away from you. You have to trust in the grip of the tyre and the downforce of the car. As we come up now towards maybe the Kleiner carousel. Very tricky corner this one. Anyone who's on mission 34 will know that. And Drumont there, suffering. I've been in that barrier so many times in sim. Really hard to get that corner right. And now this is where Sasaki really wants to be. This is the prime seat going down the Dr. Hurley, one of the longest straights in motorsport anywhere. You don't want to be leading going here, you want to be where Sasaki is. You get a huge toe down the straight. It's just free power, free speed.
Yep, working out quite nicely here for Takuma Sasaki. Is he going to attack against Kilian Drumont? He's just going to opt to save fuel at this point, playing the longer game in this race. He's not quite alongside Kilian Drumont. He's just sitting there in the slipstream, so I think he is deciding for that sort of smarter strategy here, maybe saving a couple of litres of fuel which might prove to pay dividends when it comes down to the pit stops, because it's about 2 litres a second in terms of the total refuelling time. So everything you can gain will prove to be a benefit later on in the race. Out of the final turn we go then, in towards the pit lane and into the box for Kylian Drumont and for Takuma Sasaki. Now, are they going to diverge in terms of strategy? Look at the fuel difference there between them. About 4 litres is how it's changed. Meanwhile, Paul Ura and Takuma Miyazono, they're side by side. I was keeping an eye on the gap with Jose Serrano. 5.5 seconds it was. It still stayed at about 5 seconds. So despite being on the slower compound of tyre there for Jose Serrano, he's not lost too much time relative to everybody else. It's working out quite nicely for him so far. And the top 4 all in for the hard tyres and all taking fuel on board as well.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the lap times there. As you say, that's a nice lap there, but of course, only really 1 lap, I think, Serrano. I know he's opted to go for another lap on that tyre there. I thought he'd come straight in and get rid of that. So the medium tyre obviously not as good as informed, and Serrano's last lap is 6.54 compared to Paul Ura 6.58.
Well, sorry, Jimmy, if you're new to the GT World Series and you're wondering about tyres, the hard tyre, it's the most durable tyre, but it offers the least grip. The medium somewhere in the middle, and the soft tyre, of course, is the quickest tyre because it's softer, it's grippier, but it wears out a lot quicker. So Serrano here, as you say, Jimmy, he's going for the hard compound of tyre. He's playing a different strategy now at this point, which I guess in reverse of that is going to then mean that he's got medium tyres that are a bit fresher towards the end of the race.
Yeah, but his sectors are good. His sectors are really good. Like, he's keeping that car alive. I mean, he's not as fast as Ura and Miyazono, but he's fast enough to as you say, to put himself in a good position for his final stint. Anyway, on board with Valerio Gallo, recovering, of course, from that incident at the start of the race. Valerio lots of Nürburgring. He's traditionally quite fast around here. Goes through on Drumont, easy. That's the tyre advantage right there. Up the inside, the Drumont can do nothing but just allow the move to be made. In the background, look behind Drumont. Look who's caught him. That gap was 3 seconds for their box. Now, Guy Barber right on the back of Kylian Drumont.
Yeah, he's been driving really well as Guy Barber. Last time around, a pretty competitive lap time considering where he was in terms of the tyre and fuel strategy at that point. So, as you say, an opportunity knocks here for maybe a top 5 finish, and that'd be a lovely way to bookend what has been a tough season for the Australian driver coming into this event. He only had 1 point on the board, so he's adding a few more to his tally, is Guy Barber, but let's see how many more he can add here in the grand final, which, just to remind you again, is double points. 24 is your total. That's the maximum that you can get for this one. At the moment, Jose Serrano has won both races, has scored a maximum of 24 points in both of those, and could be set to add more to his tally and absolutely dominate the Nations Cup here tonight.
Serrano, well, he just set a purple sector, and then Gallo to get away there. But on that hard compound tyre, Serrano's flying that hard tyre. And actually, I don't think it is 10 seconds lap slower, you know.
No, well, it's certainly not with Jose Serrano. That much is for sure. He's just driving so well, and the hard tyre is the one where you have to live with the damage. We know that. We've seen it so many times with drivers. They flick it onto the hard tyre and then they really struggle. Sasaki's just about to allow Valerio Gallo through. He's got the indicator on, saying, pull to the left, go and overtake us. I'm not going to fight this one there too much. And Gallo goes through and up into 4th.
Now, funnily enough, if you did that at the ring and you indicated that way to points as opposed to which way I'm going, you get told us. So, tut, Sasaki. Learn your NLS regulations.
I'm sure that'll come in useful. Jose Serrano, you can see the live points rankings on your screen at the moment. It will give him a 19-point advantage over Paul Ura if the checkered flag was thrown now. But still plenty of time for this race to adapt and evolve. Miyazono there in 3rd place. He'll be right on the coattails of this one. So Valerio Gallo, who's in 4th position, he is in a good place here to move his way up, possibly into the top 3 positions in terms of the final order. What's he on at the moment? It would be 37 points if the checkered flag fell now. So we'd have a 4-point deficit to Takuma Miyazono to overhaul him for 3rd.
It's got about 8 seconds to make up to do that, Tom, right now, because of that spin earlier on. So the thing is, he is catching. But is he catching quick enough? So it's going to have to be a hell of a stint here from Gallo to try and upset that top 3. There is your leader right now, Jose Serrano, looking cool, calm and collected. This man, 3.5 laps away from his first individual Nations Cup win. Of course, part of Team Spain for 2023 when we had that format. But I really do think there is he must be having those thoughts now. He's starting to think about it.
So if we look at Takuma Sasaki, Kylian Drumont, etc., all those drivers who are sort of in that mid-bubble, as it were, at the moment. How do you turn your race around at this point? You're sort of sat there in no man's land, really, not in the podium battle, not, you know, on the fringes of the top 10. What do? Do you throw something different at it? How do you change your race and give you an opportunity to maybe fight for a podium?
The only problem is now is that you are committed to your plan. You can't really change what you're doing. You're locked in. So all you can really do is, you know, the fuel is probably where you're going to make some dishes up in the pit lane or somewhere else. But otherwise, just drive better, go faster. As my good friend Coyne would say, wheel harder.
On board here we are with Kraz-e. Look at him feathering the throttle through that right-handed. The problem with these cars, of course, they're very aerodynamic dependent, and he's in the dirty air all the way through this mid part of it, so he's costing him front downforce as he runs his way through this medium speed set of corners. So you just won't have the same grip as you would do for Takuma Sasaki, who of course is up front there running in clean air.
You can see there Sasaki making a couple of little mistakes through there, and they are little mistakes, and again they're wide at Bridgestone. It just allows Drummond to get a little bit closer, not troubling a lot of these apexes of Sasaki. I think he's just hanging on for dear life through here, as it feels like to be honest when you drive through here. But Drummond's getting ever closer. In this section where it's so fast, it almost acts as a straight. I know it sounds silly, but you're still getting the tone. You're just having to try and keep the car facing the straight away, keep the full gas as you come down to this next section of corners. The gap is 8 tenths per second. That is total enough for a draft down the straight.
So looking at Kylian Drummond then, just up in front there is Takuma Sasaki.
He's still there.
Yeah, it certainly is Guy Barbara. He's not hanging about this. He's driving like he's left the gas on, isn't he, in this race, old Guy Barbara. And good to see him having a good run, as we said a few times there now. And he's right on the coattails, or closing up onto the coattails of those drivers in front. Look at Serrano in terms of the fuel. 2 litres left. It's going to be close, isn't it? He's going to be surely lifting and coasting here at this point. What we need to do really is sort of ride on board and get an idea of the actual speed. Let's have a look at the gap between them. Was it 5 seconds as it sits now? I think he might just be able to sort of coast it to there. But it's tight there. Very, very fine margins for Jose Serrano, and he just makes it in with 0 litres left. That is as close as you like for the Spaniard. I tell you what, he'll be clenching his way into that pit lane.
I thought I heard him cough there, come out of that last corner, but no. I mean, it doesn't even like he cares about that. I was here thinking it was over for Serrano. Like, yeah, it's just part of the plan, man. It's got it all in hand, all in hand. So it's going to be a long fuel stop for Serrano now, well, a longer stop, because he has to now fuel from 0 to the end of the race. So it seems pretty thirsty as well. Unsurprisingly, there's a lot of power, a lot of downforce to push through that air. So it's a long pit stop. It feels like an eternity now for Serrano. Look how far that must be down the field, down to P10. Of course, everybody else needs to make their last stop. This is his last stop of the race. He will push to the end from here.
And it's where he's going to emerge in the pack as well. What you want after a pit stop like this is to emerge in clear air. You don't want a car that's in front of you costing you time and downforce. And as we know, because it's so one line on the majority of the Nordschleife circuit, you're going to be hemorrhaging time. Thankfully for Jose Serrano, he comes out of the pit lane there in 11th position, so down in last place, but he's got, what, 13 and a half seconds. So though he's down in last position at the moment, he's now in the effective race lead. All he needs to do is basically shrink that gap down to Samuel Cardinal as best he can on this medium compound tyre, fresher tyres relative to everybody else around him, and he'll be fine.
It seems like that's quite a lot of fuel stop. I mean, I don't think he put too much in. I mean, he knows better than we do, obviously, with his strategy there, but it must feel like an eternity waiting for that to go in.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you, given what it was like going into the pit lane, I'd just stick a couple more litres in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got it, we'll see. I mean, you know what happened to Kyle de Bruin last year, running out of fuel at the last corner, and basically causing a pileup that cost Serrano a chance of winning the Nations Cup then. So I'm sure maybe he's thinking back to that, thinking, yeah, I'll put an extra litre in, just to make sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of Kyle de Bruin, actually, what a disappointing day he's had at the office. It's such a shame there, because there was a great promise with him getting pole position for that first race, and he kind of thought, oh yeah, okay, maybe now's the time. He's had a podium in the World Series this year, but other than that one-off podium, which I think was in London, if memory serves me correctly, it's just not really fallen in his favour, and we seemed to talk about that last year as well, and again here tonight the same story seems to repeat itself.
He's devastatingly fast over a single lap, but unfortunately just doesn't quite have that consistency needed for that race pace, can't quite convert. So yeah, I mean, it'll be a learning experience for Kai and for some of the other drivers that haven't performed as maybe they would have hoped to do so. But for now, we go back to this battle. Sasaki?
Easy for you to say.
Exactly, it's Sasaki. Drummond and Barbara in the background there, still on to the back of these guys. I do wonder where they're going to end up when this is the last stops from the team. These guys on the hard commander tyres go on to the quicker compound. Will they come back at the cars in front? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, this is what we saw last year, wasn't it? Where you get drivers, they stick it onto the soft cover of the tyre right at the end of the race. It gives them a massive amount of performance. So, let's be fair, it's been a steady race, is being polite about it up until this point. In terms of on-track action, we've seen a few overtakes, but nothing really all that meaningful. A lot of these drivers, they're playing the long game. That's why you're not seeing Sasaki and Drummond knocking 7 bells out of each other at this stage. They're just waiting for the right opportunity to pounce. They're on the hard tyres, they're taking that pain now. And as Jimmy's quite rightly said, they're going to be on the soft tyre at the end of this one, which could bring them right back into play. The gap between themselves and Sasaki, what's that, 5 seconds or so. Sasaki owes the soft tyre there as well. So Sasaki is going to be the one that surely is going to be in the pound seats here, because he's only got 5.6 seconds to Valerio Gallo for that final place on the podium. Gallo is going to be on the hard tyre at the end of this one, so surely you would say Sasaki will be a bit of a bet for a challenge, at least for the podium, if the likes of Drummond, etc. are not able to close up.
Yes, these are crucial for this chasing pack here. They have to maximise this hard tyre as much as they can anyway, to put them in the best possible position to chase at the end of this race. Sasaki still leading uphill from Drummond in the background. Barbara there as well. Good performance, as I said, from the Australian driver, really doing well. Really just showing that he can be at the sharp end of the field. Things seem to fall his way. The curve completely flat through there, and Drummond there, you see, just cruising up to the back of Sasaki and probably just lifting a bit there, because here, having that little bit less fuel, having to put a bit less fuel in the car is going to be a big advantage. You have a quicker stop than the guy around you. It's going to put you in the preferred position leading around here for the last couple of laps.
Yeah, through the carousel we go. No tail here for 4th, 5th and 6th place. As we said, playing the long game in terms of this race, because as they're so close to one another, you know, the gap to Sasaki's, again, starting to increase a little bit there, with Sasaki versus Gallo up to 6.4 seconds. But you would expect that. Gallo's on the medium compound of tyre at this stage, and, you know, he's still got enough life left in it at the moment to clearly be pulling out a gap over Sasaki and the following 2 drivers. At the sharp end of this one, Miyazono and Ura separated by 7/10 of a second. Meanwhile, Serrano, what was it, 13.5 seconds when he came into the pit lane, now down to just over 10 seconds. So he's able to just run a nice, clean, comfortable, calm race at the moment, Jose Serrano. Exactly what he wants to do, trying to use the undercut, effectively, the different strategy to give him more of a gap. It was only a few tenths of a second when he came into the pit lane, if you remember, for that first pit stop. So when he comes into the pits for the final time and out of it subsequently, he'll hopefully have enough of a cushion so that he's not under any threat on that final lap.
Well, we're only about a minute or so away from finding out where everyone sits after the strategies are all said and done. So there's your tyre history. Only one to do the 2 stops is Serrano. Everyone else has to box. Miyazono and Ura are now going side by side down the straight, I think, just to avoid squabbling. And this is going to be interesting now.
Just to correct my thought, by the way, when I said Serrano coming in, I meant all the other drivers coming in for their final pit stop, because of course Serrano is in the final phase of this race. Then down the Dottinger Hill we go. Miyazono pulls alongside Paul Ura as we come in towards the final couple of corners. Ura not fighting that one too hard. They're again just waiting for their final pit stop, which will surely be coming at the end of this lap, and they'll be putting on the hard compound of tyre for the closing stages of this one. All the other field, of course, are following their final pit stops. Look how close it is in terms of fuel. They've got a bit more left in the tank than Jose Serrano did, but not too much.
No. So, here they come. Hard compound tyre all round. So, Drummond, Sasaki, Barbara, they now pit. They'll go onto that soft compound tyre. They get to hunt rather than be the hunted for the last part of this race. 2 laps here then will decide the winner of the grand final. We'll keep an eye on Serrano. We'll see where he ends up. He's currently going down the back straight at the moment. Fuel going in. This will feel like a very long time for these guys, of course. Only 2 laps needed, though. Much shorter than the stop Serrano had, having to fuel for that extra lap. There they go. Miyazono out, Ura out as well. So both moving. Miyazono opting for less fuel there than Ura. So less to play with whilst leading, but it seemed that he wanted to have track position.
I think it's working out quite nicely here then for Jose Serrano, because although he's not going to gain track position in terms of the race lead at the moment, he's on the medium tyre for the closing stage of this one. So let's see how he comes out into the gap. gap, what's it, 5.9 seconds, but he's got, what, 2 laps left to play with, and he's got a quicker compound of tyre relative to Jura and to Takuma Miyazono. They're now into the final phase of this race, onto the hard compound of tyre, but all they've got to do is try and keep Jose Serrano at bay for another lap and a half. It sounds easy. In principle, it's going to be very, very tough for them to do so.
Yes, so Takuma Miyazono, the home driver here, leading the race at the moment, but for how long? Pol Euro 1.4 seconds behind on the same compound of tyre. Jose Serrano, current points leader, 5 seconds behind Pol Euro on the medium compound of tyre. Then there's a little bit of buffer between them and the soft runners. Watch out for Drummond, watch out for Suzuki, watch out for Guy Barbara. They're going to be charging in these last 2 laps. All to play for still here for the last 2 podium positions in the Nations Cup. But if Jose Serrano stays where he is right now, he will be champion. That will be going through his mind right now, Tom. Do I push? Do I keep it safe from here? It's harder than it sounds, trust me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. In terms of second and third place as well, that will be very close, just 3 points in it. At the moment, if the checkered flag fell, it would be Miyazono on 4. If the checkered flag fell, it would be Miyazono on 49 points, 46 points there for Pol Euro. Let's have a look then at Sasaki versus Drummond. This is down the Dossigahur. Drummond on the attack against the Japanese driver as they came under the bridge. Nice and easy there between those two. Bit of contact. This is where we saw it all kicking off here 12 months ago, but Drummond able to get the better of the Japanese driver and through for 4th position. So a nice easy overtake there for the Frenchman as they've now made their final pit stops. Live points rankings, as you can see on your screen. So Serrano, 3rd place, would be enough for him to be crowned as a champion. Miyazono there ahead of Pol Euro. So in terms of 2nd and 3rd place in the standings, Miyazono needs to outscore Pol Euro to be able to do that. At the moment, it's enough for the Japanese driver, what looks to be the outgoing Nations Cup champion. So we'll see how that one is going to work out. 1.5 seconds is the gap between the top 2.
A lot of home support here for Miyazono. People in the crowd with scarves and merch. I wonder where they got that from. I think they make it, I don't know. The Japanese crowd here, definitely one of the corner ones. So lots of very interesting bits of supporting memorabilia created by our fans. And Serrano, 3rd place right now, catching quickly Pol Euro and Takuma Miyazono, owing to the fact it's in that medium compound of tyre. And he can just push to the end now. That tyre's going to last completely fine. And that'll be a really freeing thought if you're Serrano. You haven't got to save, you haven't got to worry about the car behind you. You can just push forward into the gap in front of you. And surely Pol Euro isn't going to fight too hard.
You would have thought so, but, you know, this is Gran Turismo, this is the World Finals, it's the last chance you've got to do it, and you get a bit of desperation starting to creep in. We were talking about Valerio Gallo and his podium challenge, and you can see he's there on the hard compound of tyre. Look at Drummond, Sasaki and Barbara. This is exactly what we were talking about a couple of laps ago. They're now closing right up on to the back of the Italian driver, and well, they've got enough time to be able to make it work. The problem is, are they going to come across him at the wrong time on the circuit? Because it's all well one thing closing up here at the Nordschleife, but getting past is such a difficult thing to do, even despite the massive difference in performance between the hard tyres on Gallo's car and the soft tyres on Drummond, Sasaki and Barbara.
He's going to catch him in a really nice place. So just coming out of here there, he hasn't been slowed down at all, and now he's going to just get a free draft all the way uphill. So a really ideal spot for Drummond to catch Gallo. Will Gallo defend here? We know Gallo had a spin early on. He probably knows his race isn't going to get much better than it is right now. So I wonder how hard the Italian is going to defend. Drummond just cruising up to the back then on Valerio Gallo's X2019 car, punching the hole in the air. Will he try and go for a move here from the Mook curve? He's getting closer and closer. Looks to the outside here. Will Gallo try and hold the position? He does. He's not going to get the gym for free. And they go side by side, breaking down there. But there's the soft compound tyre. Oh, and wide goes Drummond. He hits the wall. He goes wide. Oh, my word. That could be it for Kelly and Drummond there. Just pushing too hard. Gallo defending as he's entitled to do so. And Drummond just pushing wide into the wall.
Well, under investigation for the collision there between Drummond and Valerio Gallo. Let's see what the stewards are able to pick the bones out of with that incident. The upshot is, as Jimmy said, that could easily prove to be the end of the podium challenge. Serrano now through on Pol Euro for 2nd place, though, meanwhile, whilst that was all unfolding behind. So Pol Euro deciding that he can't hold up Jose Serrano, his compatriot at the moment. Serrano's next target, 1.9 seconds up the road. Takuma Miyazono, quicker compound of tyre on the Spaniard's car. It's looking good for 3 wins in 3 races here tonight in the Nations Cup.
We've still got a bit to go. Big understeer. We saw him go off here earlier on, just about bring it back up again. Jose Serrano, look at him right now. Imagine what you must be feeling. The car is fast, you're on a quick tyre. You can see the gap to the car in front is coming down. And you know, if you can keep this together for just one more lap, you are going to be the Nations Cup champion of 2025. Here he comes then, to the last part of the circuit. I'll say that, we'll go back to a replay. This is Serrano and Euro actually made a mistake. It's why it was so easy to get by. Goes wide that whole act, and Serrano just drives through the gap there. So yeah, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. Off I go. I'm going to go chase down Takuma.
Well, we've seen a couple of mistakes from the two Spaniards then here tonight, and well, Paul Euro, the latest one to do so. See the headlights now illuminated the darkness. Drumont and Gallo, it's been deemed a racing incident. Right call, I feel that was. As we come down the Dottinger Hill then for the penultimate time. The gap now between Miyazono and Serrano down to a second as they burst their way through and into the darkness. The trophy there on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, that's the one that Jose Serrano wants to be holding aloft. Second place, as we know, would be more than enough for him to be crowned as the champion, but you always want to sign off on a win, don't you? No doubt about it for Jose Serrano. When is he going to pick his moment as we come through to begin the final lap of the 2025 Gran Turismo World Series? It's Miyazono that leads from the fast-charging, medium-shod Jose Serrano. Paul Euro sitting there in third place after that mistake cost him positions on that final lap, the last lap that we went on, penultimate lap of racing. And let's see how quickly Serrano can latch onto the back of Takuma Miyazono and attack the Japanese driver here.
It's not over yet in the midfield even, Tom. We have Drumont, Barbaro, Sasaki. They've got by Gallo and are now chasing down Paul Euro. We think that swap tyres around 10 seconds lap faster than the hard tyre, and there is a 6-second gap between Drumont and Euro. And importantly, Miyazono too, so none of these drivers are safe, bar maybe Serrano. So things could all change in the championship. It seems Serrano's in the power seat right now, but Miyazono and Euro both trying to make sure they get onto the podium here today. So, and they really will charge hard on this last lap. Here is Serrano then getting closer and closer to the Japanese driver. This must feel great right now, just being in this position for Jose Serrano. Miyazono slow off the corner. I think it's a done deal, Tom. Here it comes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's in the slipstream then. Here is Jose Serrano. Wants to keep Miyazono down into the chicane. He's got the inside line, and now he takes the race lead on the final lap. Jose Serrano is through to the front of the race with just a lap to go here at the Nordschleife. As we come onto the circuit then, and now let's see how quickly Jose Serrano can pull away from Takuma Miyazono. This has been an absolute masterclass in terms of performance for the Spanish driver. Let's not forget, of course, he won the Nations Cup back in 2023 when it was a team effort back in that year, a sort of one-off, as it were. But this would be the first chance for him to be crowned individually as the Nations Cup champion. Third would have been enough. He didn't need to fight for second and indeed the lead of the race, as we just saw, but he wants to sign off with a victory, no doubt about it, and that's exactly what he is set to do here.
So his life point standings here, if Kylian Drumont can get up into second place here, he will put himself on to the podium. He will knock Paul Euro or Takuma Miyazono off. So it's not over there for the last couple of podium places. There's a replay of that move then. This must feel like a victory lap now for Jose Serrano. Up the inside of Takuma Miyazono. Not much resistance offered there by the Japanese driver. Neither had to go on and say, yeah, thanks mate, I appreciate that. I know you can't really fight me. And then off he goes, sparking down the hill there towards the compression at the bottom. What a beautiful image this is.
Just a masterful strategy there from Jose Serrano. You know, took the pain in the middle stint there on the hard tyre, but clearly he was calculating that, working out the fact that he was going to drop off the back, have that gap relative to the rest of the field, and just be in a nice, comfortable cushion, nice, comfortable position in the closing stages of that race. You know, able to run his own lines, run his own race, and ultimately it's that middle stint that's given him the chance of that victory, because he just kept so much pace on the hard tyres relative to everybody else.
The one Spaniard's close. There's another one's pain. Paul Euro right now, looking at his mirror, will see this, a train of three very fast cars. Drumont, Barbara and Sasaki there, taking chunks and chunks out of the guys in front. Guy Barbara up into 5th position as well there, so he's also looking to try and end off the 2025 season on a high, but the gap down to only 2.8 seconds. So Kylian Drumont, you know, he must be thinking about that mistake he made on the last time. That cost him about 1.5 seconds, that did. If he had not made that, he'd be with Paul Euro right now.
suppose the thing as well is Paul Ura also made a mistake a couple of laps ago as well, didn't he? So it's funny how it all ebbs and flows. We just saw Drumont and Barbara under investigation for a collision. We'll try and pick the bones out of that one. Not quite sure who was at fault for it. The stewards just having a look and seeing if anybody indeed was so. You can see Sasaki also still very much latched onto the back of Guy Barbara for 5th position there as well. In terms of the overall standings, it won't make too much of a difference for Guy Barbara. In terms of Takuma Sasaki, though, it could leapfrog him ahead of Valerio Gallo for 5th place in the standings if he's able to jump himself up the order potentially. We'll wait and see how that works out, though. We look here, though, at Kilian Drumont, who is in 4th position. What about Sasaki? Is he going to be able to attack against Guy Barbara? Side by side they run. He's got the inside line here, then, as Sasaki, but it changes to the outside lines. We flick it through the right hand. Barbara goes deep into the corner, and Sasaki just has to wait to fight another day as Barbara holds firm for 5th place as we come into the carousel. Then the headlights illuminating the darkness here at the Nordschleife as the sun sets on what has been a spectacular 2025 Gran Turismo World Series, and it is not over yet, but Kilian Drumont is deemed at fault for the incident we saw between himself and Guy Barbara as a 1-second penalty. And is that podium challenge over then for Kilian Drumont with less than half a lap to go?
Yeah, that is huge for Drumont. That's pretty much going to just put paid his podium chances there. It just goes to show that you have to be consistent. You can't be making these mistakes. You can't be having these contacts. And that really is a reflection of this whole series. One man who has been consistent throughout. To be fair, he made one mistake in this race, but he gathered it up very nicely. Jose Serrano leading out front. The gap is 3.3 seconds. He's only got a couple more corners left and the back straight between himself and putting his hands on that Nations Cup trophy.
Takuma Sasaki there attacking against Guy Barbara, or at least trying to, again, closing up onto the back of him. This is a great little tussle that's going on for 5th position. It may not be the battle for the race win that we've seen so many times here at the Nordschleife in these Red Bull X2019s, but it's a fantastic tussle and a great example of defensive driving and also respectful driving between two long-time competitors in the Gran Turismo World Series. Through in towards the right-hander we go, on towards the Dossinger Herb for the final time, and Takuma Sasaki is going to have the advantage of the slipstream here against Guy Barbara as we come down this back straight. Meanwhile, Jose Serrano is comfortably in the pound seats here. He's got a great cushion over the rest of the field, and what a season the Spaniard has put together. What a night he has put together in the GT World Series here in the Nations Cup. Yesterday he was crowned as the Manufacturers' Cup champions for Porsche, and back in 2023 he was crowned as the Nations Cup champions as part of a team effort. But now in 2025 he will become his own champion in his own merit as Jose Serrano wins the grand final and becomes the Nations Cup champion of the world in 2025. Takuma Miyazono crosses the line in 2nd place, and Paul Ura finishes in 3rd position ahead of Guy Barbara, who gets the better of Drumont. Sasaki drops down to 6th place at the checkered flag. But what a season Jose Serrano has put together. Absolute dominations, 2 titles in 2 days here in Japan.
What else can be said? This has been Jose Serrano's year. This is the guy that burst onto the scene a few years ago. He was fast but unrefined, and over the course of the last few years he's found himself, he's found his confidence, and look at the results on circuit. You cannot argue with that. There is no more deserving champion for 2025 than this man, Jose Serrano.
Fantastic job from Jose Serrano. What a feeling that is going to be. He is quite literally on top of the world at the end of our 2025 Gran Turismo World Series. Angel Estrada, as well as Takuma.